All right, I think we're live. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Brian and Lapis and Steven here. And I just wanted to do a little live stream. Probably not going to be a little one, to be honest. They never are coming from me. And certainly won't be today because we just saw the series finale of Steven Universe Future. Hello, I already see people coming in. Hello, Strazy. You're the first one here. Welcome. Yes. So this will be a spoiler discussion of the final episodes of Steven Universe Future. You're bawling. I think everybody was bawling. So we're going to be talking about it. I wanted to make sure I immortalized this in the frame of mind, fresh off of the ending of a show that really has meant so much to me. Has been a huge inspiration. Now I see more people. Maddox Senior, hello. Jake Sweldo, hello. Nerdy, hello. And of course, much like Steven, we're not going to do it alone. I'm going to bring in a special guest. Give me one moment. Hopefully he picks up right now. Whoop. I'll try to keep that low. And whenever he joins, then he will be here as well. But while we wait for that, I just Steven Universe. Oh, nope, that's a voice message from him. Okay, so whenever he comes, he comes. Area says, "Now I miss Steven Universe." So do I, buddy. Okay, so Steven Universe, to me, as I was saying, has meant so much. I first of the resemblance. I got into it early season one, very early on, actually. My good friend Justin Chapman informed me of the show, said I had to watch it. I caught up to, I think the newest episode at the time was probably Steven the Sword Fighter. So I watched the show up until then. And once I got there, then, you know, I instantly fell in love with this world, these characters. Pearl was always my favorite gem, personally. If you have a favorite, please feel free to comment it. I think favorite characters can evolve as the show goes on. I mean, obviously, as the show continued, it was introduced us to so many more wonderful characters. I I love Peridot. I love Lapis. I love Amethyst. I love Garnet. I love Spinel. I'm Spinel trash, and I think Steven Universe Future, fittingly enough, really put the perfect capper on Steven's arc himself. Because yes, as Strazy said, he finally got a therapist. Thank goodness. So yeah, I got in pretty ground floor on the show. I think it was pre-jailbreak. With once jailbreak hit, that's when the fandom, I think, really blew up. Bismuth, of course, yes, Bismuth is wonderful. That's another the 100th episode of the show. Guys, there's just so much to unpack here, but yeah, I'm still processing the fact that it finished, and I really have so much respect for Rebecca Sugar and the Crooniverse for knowing when to say goodbye to it, right? Because change your mind already. Like 5 seasons, great. We told the story of how it was very much building up the Diamond Authority and the ultimate threat of White Diamond as, that was like the end goal. Very, you could say it was seemingly, at least at the time, the Fire Lord to Steven's Aang, right? So once that had been conquered, I at least was really scratching my head, like, okay, well then, what are they going to do with the movie? Is there really going to be? I know there's rumors of a season 6 because the voice actors are still recording and stuff, but what else can they possibly do? And wow, did they did they prove that there was more to tell in this story, at least for me? Because I think the movie, excuse me, was a perfect encapsulation of. I did a video about it as well. Just everything that Steven had helped his family come to learn over the course of the show. Now he was sort of the authority figure and was facing seemingly a perfect future going forward, only for it to potentially be completely taken away from him and see the reaction that would come from him when that occurs. But then Steven Universe Future is so perfectly is just here is now that everything is fine, to quote one of the episode titles, and everything's fixed, then why is finally something in Steven inside himself is just not clicking, right? And I think never before have I seen a show just so completely and thoroughly deconstruct itself, right? And the values that it holds dear. Because everything about what the show had represented about being able to change, loving each other, seeing the best in each other, even if mistakes are part of your past, that then you can grow and move forward and yes, change. Um, I thought that these final episodes and honestly the entirety of Future did such an excellent job showing how everyone around Steven had grown and developed, and he still almost was like internalizing the wrong takeaways and the wrong lessons from everything that he had been through. And like, well, yes, Jasper, well, let's get into the big spoilers, right? Jasper's shattering the attempt to get revenge on White Diamond for taking out his gem. Steven is internalizing the redemptive lessons of the show, and as he was vocalizing in these last episodes, saying that, well, it's fine as long as then I get better and I learn. It doesn't matter if I then make these mistakes. So again, a show, I think, or any piece of art, really, this goes for any piece of art, is at its best, I feel, when it's willing to challenge itself and potentially, like, I mean, the undermine itself, right? By saying, well, okay, yeah, if you just do better, and then people will forget about your awful past and the terrible, terrible things that you did, which, of course, is not very healthy. That's not a way of looking at it. Just to have a relief and level of contentment and fineness, and the fact that things resolve themselves and you can just fall back on who you've always been. You have to be willing to show everyone how you're feeling right now. And gosh, just the fact that it finally, right? Steven, the main character, the center of this show, the the individual through whom the perspective that we follow regresses and corrupts, as many theorized, into the monster that he sees himself as, and finally everyone around him who he's helped now is there for him and helps him. And gosh, I don't know if you've ever gone through something where you feel like you've then been there for everybody else and you don't want to admit that you're hurting on the inside. Maybe you feel like your problems aren't important, as Steven says, that you could just brush them under the rug, not a big deal. Went to the doctor for the first time ever as a 16-year-old boy. It's fine. It wasn't worth mentioning. No, it really is. And if you have people around you who care about you and you care about them, then let them help. Ugh. And yeah, I think these last episodes really showed that and made it very necessary that it wasn't just, well, here's then the next big bad. And this is reflected in how we have White Diamond feeling like it's her fault. We have Spinel feeling like it's her fault, how they brought him down. And Connie, of course, so great to then be the one to say, no, well, yeah, sure, but this isn't, don't make it about you. Like all of these previous adventures have been of then like not defeating you, actually, because that's not what Steven does. He listens and sees the best in you and helps you to self-actualize, and now he is the one who's hurting. So it is, Steven always had, you always had Steven, but Steven never had Steven, right? Be the Steven you want to see in the world, as Steven later says to Paradox. Oh, such a great line. Um, so yeah, just for me, I thought that was such a fitting and lovely and heartfelt conclusion to show just the the family, the friends, and the found family, those two combined together were what was the, not even to say solution, just the simple act of them being there and giving him that big classic hug and Spinel wrapping her arms around him. Oh, look who decided to show up. Well. Let me get a look
reference to the wrong thing. Stop, quit that nonsense.
To the wrong thing? I'm sorry. I think it's still under the Steven Universe banner. Excuse me.
I said that. I was really hoping you wouldn't say, oh, did you not realize that Spinel did say that really quietly when she showed up? I would be like,
well,
correct.
I didn't have to, evidently. So, Justin, I brought you here because we have this show has been a huge part of our lives. You introduced me to the show, and I wanted you here to talk about Steven and Connie finally kissing.
Gosh, I just love that straight stuff. Rebecca has finally broken ground tonight, fellas.
That's right. That's right.
It's what we've all been waiting for.
This is the progressive content that we've been craving and have been denied left and right. Yes. There it is.
He's the main character.
Yeah.
He should be getting smooches left. Right.
Yeah. Well, this was the thing, because I was thinking the big artistic monstrous kiss of sorts. I was willing to accept that because that was the huge big turning point. But then we also got like a literal kiss, and there we go. You know, there we go. So thanks for coming, Justin. No, okay, yeah. So let's talk about the episode.
Are we live streaming?
Yeah, we're live streaming.
I had no idea.
Well, yeah.
Stumble right into it.
Yeah. That's so everyone saw you not be there for 10 minutes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it was good
for me on YouTube.
I don't know. It should be.
Who cares?
Okay. It was good for the
universe private time.
It was good for the arc.
The time in the universe.
It was good for the arc of the stream because I felt like I was alone, and then look who.
But now we're together, individually, alone, of course.
Independently, yes.
Independent, but together.
Correct. So I was already prattling on about how lovely the show is. So you got
that's true. Remember when Bush Steven tried to hug his dad? That might have been the saddest part of the whole finale, right there.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're all agreed. It was an emotional time. Heck, in all the finales.
Yes.
That we've been invested in as of late.
Right.
Found a really great way of telling melancholic final stories that so perfectly encapsulate all the messages the shows are trying to express. Like Steven and Good Place and BoJack, all like all-star finales that so perfectly resonate with the show's individual themes. Definitely. Very well custom-made finales.
Right. Yeah. I agree. It's been hard for us because I mean, like, well, purely speaking for myself, Steven Universe, BoJack Horseman, and of course The Good Place. Those are three of my favorite shows, and they've all been snatched away from me now. And what do I have left?
Infinity Train. That's one I was doing a reaction video before this. I don't even know if I'm going to post it, particularly because I don't think I look that great in it.
Nonsense.
I don't have a lot of insight in it either. It's just a lot of emotions, but I guess that's what people want in a reaction video, right?
That is what they want. Justin, we need the return of Jay Reacts. Come on, you owe it to the people. You owe them your beautiful face and your beautiful insight. Come on. I won't have it.
Silly. Yeah. Perhaps I have it all saved on my phone. I posted a 5-second clip to Twitter, and I'll see if anyone makes any note of it.
Okay.
What was I gonna say before? Oh, I was just saying that. I was like, after the reaction, I was like, "What's left?" And I mean, Infinity Chain was the best bet I could think of for like things that I have seen that I can put my my eggs into the basket of. You know,
Yeah. Book 2.
my big boy investments.
We stan book 2. We stan it. It's great.
I did make that same note. Book 2, excellent.
It is so good.
But it sounds like a comparison thing, whereas book 1 is really good.
Book 1's really. Did I say, Justin? Did you hear something that I didn't say? I just said book 2 was wonderful. That's all I said.
All right. Now that we got the blubbering goofiness out of the way, let's get to the serious SU critical business that we need to get to.
Oh, okay.
Because there are some unanswered questions and missing gaps that must be addressed immediately before we get into the good things. Because, as everyone knows, the sins of our cinema are the most important things that we should fixate on.
Very good, Justin. Let's talk about the missing pieces. What was so important that was left out of the finale?
What was that? The treasure chest.
Yeah, okay, yeah. What could have been in it? What could have been in it?
I don't know. Yeah. I can't think of anything that would be in it that would make me go, yes.
Yeah. So when at Comic-Con, at New York Comic-Con, where I actually, come to think of it, I was there. When Rebecca,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, when the last one they did, Rebecca mentioned it and was like, well, some mysteries are better left unsolved and as mysteries. And I think, leave us a little speculation bug, right? Like, do we really need another?
I agree and disagree on that.
Yeah.
That's a weird one to leave open to interpretation, because aside from having a connection to Rose, you don't really have anything to go off of. To usually, you leave a little prediction bug, and like you could have a vague sense of where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It could be anything in the entire world, and we can't even begin to garner a guess. And chances are, thinking realistically, it's not something that we would be. Decent chance it's not something we'd be aware of already.
Right. No, I get it. Look, for me, it comes from a place of it would be another one of Pink's lost treasures. Do we need to keep on then going back to her legacy? Can't we let Steven carve his own, one of many potential future paths that Garnet sees for him that he could then choose for himself? Here, if I'm going to put on my SU critical hat and do the rewrite of the movie on the spot to make everyone happy about that, what if instead of this would change a whole bunch of things around, but if instead of in the garden Spinel was there, what if he goes over and opens the chest and, oh, look who's in there? Do that. There you go.
Wow!
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, you could have made it that. But does that make the movie better?
We do lose a lot there.
Yeah, we do. Then you get rid of the whole gradual reveal over the course of it. My point is this: if for whatever reason, plot machinations aside, they were able to make that the origin point of Spinel and answer that question, do I gain anything on an emotional level from having that question answered? Me personally, no. But it's just me.
All right. You silly pickle. You figured out that one.
Okay.
But I have another bone to throw at you.
Okay.
Where's Senti?
Centipede? What else needed to be told with Senti?
I don't know. I do think it's a little weird that you throw our Nephrite in the intro, and I don't think she ever pops up in future.
Was she not? Okay. Yeah.
Again, I'm thinking of like anything I can here. I don't personally have a problem with that, particularly because I like her, but like I'm not dying to have another beat with her. But it would be nice to see her again, especially because she was Steven's first gem monster and
Yes.
then first gem friend outside of the crystal gems.
I was thinking about this. It's funny you mention it. I was thinking about it the other day, and I felt like Bismuth kind of took her role away.
A little bit. Yeah.
Right?
That's a good way
Because
to put
I
it.
think if she would have had an episode, it would have been in Bismuth Casual's place. Out of the roster that we had.
Gosh, I would not want to lose.
Of course not. It's a great episode. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So here's a topic unto itself.
Okay.
For talking people that we didn't really get, and we've kind of spoken about this prior off stream.
Right.
So Rose. We were talking about whether it makes sense for them to bring back Rose / Pink for even a quick beat. Because we didn't even hear her voice throughout all the feature, and that makes sense. In a sense, right? The first show, Steven Universe, was about Rose's impact on the world and how Steven responds to it.
Right.
But you can make an abstract argument for why Steven Universe is about Rose and Steven Universe Future is about Steven.
Mm-hmm. Well, because the original series, you got Rose's impact on the world, and eventually, of course, Steven as well. The movie, you have Steven's impact on the world and him trying to keep all of that together. And then Future is the world's impact on Steven, I think, is how it develops over the course of it. So I think, I mean, when you beat it out like that, it doesn't really... There were two things, and we talked about this before, that I think hold it back. One is the whole idea of Steven shouldn't be getting any more of in the way of answers or validation from her, because he should be able to move past that. But also, second, I mean, the show, and I think it's been very sincere in its encapsulation and representation of this. Death has a permanence to it, right? And the gem, with gem powers, you could certainly contrive some sort of a way that you could have then brought her back. But I think it was much more effective to always do it through some distorted, separated lens of, it's a videotape, it's another videotape, it's the room where either he sees other figments or literally a version of Rose herself that he constructs and sees. I think that it would be a betrayal of the finality of the death that the show had always been talking about to go back on it. But I did see, of course, as we discussed, I saw the storytelling merit in doing something like that, at least in isolation, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost an instinctual want as opposed to something that makes sense. They said she's gone,
yes.
and she's gone. That's that.
We should have listened. He yelled it at us. I mean, it was pretty. You didn't even need to turn on the captions. Yeah.
Well, there's a Pearl line in late season 2. How's it go? It's like something. Why doesn't she tell us anything? I don't know. It's season 4. Why doesn't she tell us anything referring to Peridot? This is why we never listened to her. When Peridot full well did say so.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, again, these are all of the people that he helped over the course of series are the ones that are there to talk him through this, and now the tables turned and they'll be there for him. And I mean, I think that's the most beautiful expression that anybody universally can realistically relate to. None of us are going to be able to then call upon, a departed loved one or a loved one that we didn't even really know to get the answers through that. So I think it was the right call. I think it was the right call.
Yeah, I just miss her.
You never knew her.
Oh yeah. I will say to close out the Rose topic.
Sure.
I was hoping to some extent that since, especially the very beginning of Future,
mm-hmm.
had such a firm focus on, especially episodes like Volleyball, how trashy Rose was in her youngest days.
Yeah. Great episode.
I was hoping around that point that come the end of Future, we would, be able to like have an episode in which we were able to. Sorry, I just got distracted real quick. Able to like see have another beat of like, oh wait, she did turn out better, and that's what matters.
That Rose turned out better in the past?
She turned out better the same way that Steven could.
Nah. Boo! I don't like it. I don't like it. No, I don't like it.
Yeah, we just have to make sure that despite someone growing incredibly over the course of their life and saving all life on Earth, we have to make sure that they remain canceled for what happened thousands of years ago.
Hey, listen. I didn't say for her to be canceled. I'm just saying in terms of how the narrative shifted on her. Because at first it was just, as we were all aware, like all-encompassing, the wondrous, the majesty, the beauty. She always knew everything, and where are we without her? And then eventually shifting into where are we without her, because she never told us what was actually going on, and we're left to deal with the messes that she left behind. I mean, to paraphrase Steven in volleyball, like he couldn't bear to hear about another terrible thing she did. Didn't even want to think about it. He's about fixing it. And then that's when it becomes about his journey, right? And I don't think, I of course, I see the merit in seeing how Rose improved, so then being able to see how Steven could follow in that line. But the point isn't for him to follow in that line, right? I mean, like, maybe in a broad sense, in terms of, like, doing better, sure, but, like...
Well, okay, well, the show, when it was first... Well, Future, that is, when it was first starting, I had been under the assumption that, it would be about, in a similar way to the movie, which I guess is an issue in itself, thinking back. Right. Steven needs to be able to handle change, because a lot of the early episodes where things are changing, he ain't liking it one bit.
Yeah.
And that when he became stubborn and wouldn't change, someone would be able to throw at him, hey, at least Rose was able to change, and and she got better.
Right.
She put in an effort, and you aren't. But the last few episodes were less about what Steven needs to do and more about how others could treat him the same way he's treated them. And the absolute necessity of that. But you're right. In that story, I don't see where Rose fits in.
Yes. What it eventually morphed and shifted, and perhaps one could even say changed into over the course. It was no longer, But I think it was the show, of course, like, and people had poked fun at this, but I think at least when it came to the movie, that everyone embraced it because the movie was so well executed. The Steven Universe could fall into a formula of like, okay, well then here's another relic dredged up from the past that then has to be addressed. And I appreciated how distinct and like as a season, as the epilogue limited series that it was, the cohesion that was felt over the course of that arc, I think, surpassed any other season that they had told, and just how it flowed through each other. Other than Bluebird. And very special episode, but more intentional.
The people who boarded the finale boarded Bluebird too.
Hey, I mean, look, I'm not calling out the boarders. Of course, I would never do such a thing. Lamar and Miki, wonderful job. Okay, wonderful job. Wonderful.
The future. A lot of people are expecting a time skip, but I'm happy with where we were.
Well, I think we had talked before about a really good reason for why they shouldn't do a time skip. If you want to say it.
Yeah, of course. The reason that I told you at some point.
If you don't remember, I could say.
Please do.
Okay. Just that the whole idea of a future, especially the movie had been building this up, right? Like, whatever comes our way, we'll be ready to face it. Yeah. And if you actually show it, then it could potentially undermine the point of, then there's a certainty in what we're facing, right? It's a thing that, I mean... I've seen an argument made against Toy Story 3 of like, it's so interesting. Like in Toy Story 2, Woody's staring down the vent of what could end up happening in the future, and you can't tell. And embracing the potential chaos of that is more powerful than actually showing it, even though it's more active to grapple with it. I think Toy Story, obviously, if you know me, I think that did handled it fantastically. But I think for what Steven was setting out to do, a show that's so much about legacy and the uncertainty of what came before, it's only fitting that also what lies ahead is mysterious. It's very much a present show, living in the moment, right? Appreciating the simple things as we go. Presently.
And then you just until you're just going somewhere.
It did end. Look,
somewhere or somewhere else.
Somewhere else, I think. That's what. Okay.
Whatever follows somewhere is a little quiet.
I heard somewhere else on the credits to Homeworld Bound from when they released it early. But when I was watching today, I wasn't sure if I heard the else. It was quiet. Yes. At the end of the episode. But they did the bubbled ending. They did the bubbled ending that we talked about. They brought the song that had been building over the credits.
I thought he'd be diegetically listening to it, but they bubbled it.
They bubbled.
And,
yeah, which is when, if anyone doesn't remember.
Well, they tricked you at first. They start playing the song.
It's such a good trick. Such a good trick.
The first try at least.
That was so effective, I thought. Just the animation of him backing up so aggressively and quickly was wonderful. And Garnet's pressure pump. That was fantastic.
Oh, the burst there.
Yeah. I love that. But yeah, no, it was.
They're also just so pretty and with little details like that. Just
right. And
gosh, Onion was so upset that he was going.
That was really nice. I thought.
Everyone was upset.
How he ran a little bit more. It reminded me of in another great finale, in the Community finale, when Jeff is seeing Abed and Annie off at the airport, and then he hugs Abed, and then he hesitates for a second, and then he hugs him again for longer. It was that kind of moment of just real. It's becoming real now. Don't go, really, really good stuff. Yeah, but yeah, no, they bubbled it, and if anyone doesn't know what that refers, that's the season 3 finale of then when we finally heard "Love Like You" canonically within an episode. In the moment where Steven learns at the time that there was a shattering of Pink Diamond committed by Rose Quartz, which is a little bit outdated.
Given a spoiler warning before this live stream.
I should have given a spoiler warning before that. Really accurate information that's not outdated at all. Yes. But they did. I mean, and for this, we had been thinking, because we had seen the credits of him driving somewhere, and of course there's the title cards of then he has the picture of the 3 of them up there to remember his roots, and it felt like we could be building to that, but at a certain point it just became so it was getting so hopeless.
It ends I don't know, why would they show it off so much and not finish it off like that?
Of course, but they fooled us by it getting so sad that we weren't sure how we could get there. Because we didn't know.
I kind of disagree.
Well, look, we knew because we're geniuses, but everyone else, who's seeing this, who's to say, right? Look, just in terms of over the course of the season, we see the support system gradually falling apart. To then he is distanced from Connie. He's distanced from his father. He's distanced from the gems. Even with Jasper, who is then externalizing his most toxic impulses. Then he distanced himself from, and the diamonds then too.
And he needs love.
Yeah,
and wants punishment.
Right. So that was. I think the question wasn't if that was it was how do we get to that ending, I think is the better way to put it. That was where the mystery was, I felt. But of course it's in, the emotional reconciliation, but executed so expertly. And what's so great about the action in this show, and this is from the very beginning, when you get that jailbreak, hit him up during Stronger Than You, even though you have action beats externalized, it's always about the the love that being shared and expressed and being fought for in the sake of, and also represented beautifully by true kind of love in the end of the movie with all of the wreckage of the town. Like, I remember we were so shocked that was what, because we had listened to the song because it had been released.
It does
not
seem like a everything is getting destroyed kind of song.
It doesn't, but that's the show. Isn't that the juxtaposition
of
the
show?
You know,
yeah. It matters how we deal with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been the core of it.
Yeah. Agreed. It just in the way. Look, Steven externalized as the corrupted entity, but within the heart within. That was as literal as you could get with what this show does. Steven Universe himself, the violence, the heart, in. There you go. The most bare expression. Where else could you go from here? You can't end the show. We're done. That's it. That's the end of the show.
What was the funniest part of the finale, Brian?
There were a lot of funny parts. I was crying a lot, but there were funny parts.
Well, that's funny too.
Yeah. I mentioned before the Peridot thing. I thought that was pretty funny. What other? We also mentioned Garnet with the visor. Pearl. Pearl just.
I'm thinking just a whole lot of Steven destroying things. There was a lot of really great community time there. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. No, I liked that. I liked the when it seems like he actually helped over at the baseball mound, and then he's just so shocked, and then it, of course, blows up in his face. That was very effectively done. Yeah.
With Hit the Diamond music and everything.
Yes. Such a good episode. Yes.
Pearl 8. So I think that kind of just blew everyone's mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I forgot about that. Look, I'm fresh off of it. I've only seen them once. That was probably the funniest part when he did. I think
that was on the Twitter bingo as it was reported to me.
Twitter bingo, yeah.
But I mean, maybe that's worth looking at right now.
Yeah.
Just so we could, if they're beats to talk about.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Cartoon Network released a bingo card of things that could potentially happen in these final episodes. And back when Change Your Mind came out, they put out a bingo card, and every single thing on the bingo card ended up being filled out. As if
so let's see if they did the same thing today.
Like the wildest fantasies coming true. So when this happened earlier today, we were like, I don't know if we want to then look at it if it's just going to be full of spoilers. So let's see. What do we got?
Right, this is all new to us. Cartoon Network posted a lot of stuff today, so
I can only imagine.
Which very sweet of them to help me, grieve.
It was. Well, it was helpful also in the grieving process that we rewatched the movie, we rewatched all of Future, cut together beautifully by our good friend Michael. Just really getting the full experience, so immersive, and the 4.5 hours that took up, and it ended in the same way that the actual telecast ended, because Michael cut in the whole thing of I'm Rebecca Sugar, this is my new show, Steven Universe. The Cartoon Network did the same thing, thank goodness, because the other ad breaks, I was getting very annoyed just at what they had done. Because the part that hits me the most in the episode is when Steven in the episodes is when Steven finally breaks down and is crying and openly crying, and it's the real Riley finally crying an Inside Out moment of this.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling that, and then we cut to, now that I saved the universe, I could finally work. Stop it, Cartoon Network.
Oh, it's fun.
It's fine. But yeah.
I'm seeing it does not look like this time they did all the things, but some of them are close.
Let's go through them.
Fake out people.
Let's do them. I'm curious what they threw out.
Number 1 was Pearl Eats.
Okay, that's the most important one. So
that's the most important one.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. Next,
of course, before we go to that next one.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, just because these are good ways to remember all the little things that happened. I wasn't taking notes because I was too busy crying.
A lot of them are earlier things, but that's fine.
Okay. The fact that we reprised Cookie Cat was perfect, right? We finally made. I mean, everyone always talks about how the theme song is foreshadowing.
You gotta bring it back somehow.
You gotta bring it back to that. And Garnet sees where it's going. That's why she's like, oh, he left his family behind. Oh, okay. All right, that's where that's the timeline we're in now. Oh, that's not how the song goes. Oh, well, it is now.
Well, it was just really sad when Garnet got up to the point. It's like, oh, she know it coming. She know.
And at first I thought, oh, did he have were these the last stash of Cookie Cats that he saved? But no, he made his own, and that's so much better.
No. Yeah, right when they first showed them, they look a little messy, and I'm like,
it's true.
Either something went real wrong here.
I thought it was just because he kept them for so long, they were falling apart. But no, it was so much.
That 12-year-old Steven would be able to handle, 14-year-old, 13-year-old Steven, 12 or 13, who cares, would be able to handle saving Cookie Cats,
but it's so
just eating them right then.
But isn't it so emblematic of his arc over the series? At first, it's looking to what was previously there and is now gone, ergo his mother, and now he makes his own thing.
Oh, that's what the first show is about.
But now he makes his own thing. Now he makes his own thing. That's what this show is about. Okay?
It's about coming together with family with the things you love with family.
Yes. Okay, please continue the bingo card.
Broken anvil.
Oh, of course. Bismuth's new catchphrase is my blank, my beautiful blank, I guess. First the scaffolding and then the anvil. Okay. Yeah. All right. Very good.
The poor Bismuth. The anvil just snapped in half when Steven touched it.
Yeah. Upsetting.
Boy got a lot of power. It reminds me of an epic movie called Sky High. The guy just broke his own door. He didn't know his own strength. Yeah. Remember that?
Yes. It's a classic film. Worthy of a watch on Disney Plus for sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
You got Connie saved the day?
She did. I mean, that's the human half right there. That's the humanity within that they were looking for. And that's what I was hoping, and that's what we got. Because everyone else is blaming themselves and...
God, I love the moment where they're able to call out the diamonds and be like, well, yeah, it is your fault.
Yeah.
Because, yes.
It is.
But then the other excellent point of, let's just focus on the problem here.
It was so, thoroughly covered. It was a real conversation that didn't... It wasn't, trying to then just spin it so that it worked best for this episode in a self-contained way of trying to help someone through their problem. It was addressing all that had occurred and synthesizing it. Yeah. Great.
We got Alexandrite.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to see her.
What a babe. We got us going to Homeworlds.
Well, yeah, we just saw the episode already. We just saw the episode already. We saw it early. In theaters, remember? Remember when we went in theaters?
Oh, I love going to see the Steven Universe, the movie, the musical, in the theaters with my friend Brian.
Yes.
Uninterrupted by any viruses.
Yeah. Well, we watched it at home, so good enough.
To which the audience goes, that's very specific.
It will. Well, hey, look, if they're watching in years' time, hopefully they're like, what? What do they mean, virus? Thing of the past. Let's just hope. Okay.
All right, the bingo card for how long the virus lasts.
Oh boy.
And the tragedies that it leads to.
Okay. Yeah. I like this bingo
card. Get on it.
I like this bingo card. Let's stick with this bingo card.
Ooh. Spinel new look.
Okay. It's funny. Dee was actually talking to me about that, about how they were surprised that in Homeward Bound
they still got the mascara.
Yeah.
Unlike the intro.
Yeah. But I dig that. I dig that it's still, because I of course I understand why it could be really cool for her to have changed her form, but I like that.
Well, she did get a new look.
Yeah, well, yes.
She got teeny weeny legs.
Oh, of course. No, it did happen. Oh, okay. Yeah. But what I was going to say was I just liked that it was showing that this is literally her and she's better because she puts in the effort. It's not because it's a magical transformation. It was an internal thing I liked.
Everyone cries.
Yes. Well, that's true. Oh, the other thing about Spinel that I think is also good for why she remained the same is because before the whole thing was that because the root of the inspiration for the character is Rebecca Sugar with the stuffed rabbit that she left behind, and that it changed.
Spill in the gut.
Right, and that's what led to that song, of course, as well. You'll find something waiting right there where you left it, lying upside down. Everything stays right where you left it.
With a heart flipped upside down.
Yeah, so as represented by that having flipped. So even though she didn't do anything and she had left it behind, seemingly untouched, it would still change, and that was like an existential realization for her. So I think it's nice, like in this, like Spinel has kind of taken control of what her physical manifestation is, and she's not beholden to the world changing around her as she's forced to stay still. But yeah. Anywho.
Well, you never really got into the next point.
Well, everyone did cry. Everyone cried.
Everyone cries.
They do all cry.
Why wasn't that the free space?
It really should have been the free space.
It'd be a funny one.
I mean, it was the best. Look, the most authentic crying of the show is when we end Steven in the episodes I Am My Monster, right? That was the second to last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that with a show that's had a lot of crying, that was the best crying. Yes.
But a lot of people are gonna be like, are the Diamonds gonna say "ooh" next?
What?
They've been oobified.
Oh. But like, what else do you expect at this point from that? I mean, they're their beautiful, wonderful, wacky selves.
Yeah, they're characters who have always been completely acting in result to the Pink Diamond death. And then,
well, they're also
course,
yeah.
You know, you have a transformation via that, and
they've always
they are in the future, and it's great.
Right. They've always been larger than life. So at first that was represented in an antagonistic, intimidating way, but now it's the over-the-top personalities and joy and emotion of watching Cinderella leave the ball with the slipper left behind.
Spinel, Prince Charming confirmed.
That's a problematic ship, Justin. We caught you on camera.
Spinel and Cinderella?
Yes. Yes. That's the one. That's the one. No, but yeah, look, the Diamonds, yeah. If we're gonna do we need to relitigate that? Do we want to relitigate that right now? The Diamond Redemption?
No.
Okay, let's move on then.
Next on the list is Greg runs away.
Ah, okay. Well, he stopped. He didn't. This was the first time he didn't. But he was making about him when he was saying that, so he needs to stop.
Yeah, we got a faker-rooski here.
We got a faker-rooski.
But next I have the most important one.
Okay.
Gems play baseball.
Well, that happened. That happened just like it did in Hit the Diamond. Now it's become part of gem culture. It's been embraced.
Steven and Mary Gem being low. I must be a very important part of gem culture.
Right. Well, he is. He's affected.
He changed everything.
Yeah, it's era 3. And he has all this...
Well, now it's era 4. Show's over, fellas.
Is it? Would you say it's era 4?
Yeah, I would assume that a black hole engulfing the show for there to be no more of it.
Hey.
Would probably allow for a new era to occur.
The only Cartoon Network show that ends with the entire world dissipating is Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, when it shows the house like undraw itself at the end. Okay? So.
What a sad ending. It still exists in my little imagination. Why does the show have to pretend it's not there?
That's not what it... Well, if that's what you take away from it, I think it's open to interpretation. Cheese does still speak after it, so I think that confirms that they haven't been extinguished from existence.
No, it's just a confirmation that Cheese is a godly figure that is above all this nonsense of television.
Cheese is the only one that's right. Yeah.
So surpass the format.
Okay.
he and Pinkie Pie will survive till the end of time, long after their respective universes have collapsed.
Okay, the fourth wall breaker. So Spinel, I guess, would be the one. Well, or Peridot, for that matter. Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking Steven, I would say much more so Sardonyx and Sunstone.
Oh, of course. No, yeah, you're right.
You gotta have that future. You gotta get that Garnet element in there.
Right. Okay.
Garnet uses it for good, and the others use it for evil.
True.
And Sugalite just forgets to use it.
Well, they're not willing about that. They're not willing to pay her anymore, so that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to hear about the monster destroying Beach City?
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
A bit of a fakerooski.
Yeah, I mean, it was a look. Destroying Beach City. It depends on how you interpret it. Did it literally destroy it, or was it destroying it? Maybe.
It's kind of just next to it.
Well, but like,
I would say it's fakerooski.
Yeah, but there was still physical damage. Yeah, okay.
The closest I would say is what happens in Everything's Fine. That was some destruction.
True that. Yeah, that was pretty. Do
you want to call that a monster?
Well, I mean, Steven did. Aren't we going to listen to him?
So that's why I would say, okay, a little up to interpretation.
Just a bit.
Then we get Diamonds Come to Beach City.
Okay, well, and of course, every time that they come, there's always something like this going on.
Which made me wonder if, like, there was another time that they came that something otherwise crazy was going on. I want to know that deep between the show and movie and show lore.
Well, hey, we had Reunited, we had the end of the movie, and we had this, but in the end,
Reunited, they brought it themselves.
Of course, yeah. But in Change Your Mind, when they showed up to do all the healing, I mean, was there something that happened there? I mean, look, if it's happened enough,
obviously a movie reference to like
yes.
Something was happening already when they showed up.
Well, also supported by the fact that they show up and are like, "Are we interrupting? I hope it's not a." Yeah. Yeah.
Here's one. Here is the only one that I saw going into the episode by accident.
Okay.
Ready?
Go ahead.
Garnet renews vows.
I could definitely have seen the merit in that, but I think we covered that with the book that Steven gave to represent the wedding. I was really glad to see that in the final episode because we were joking earlier. There's the real like progressive march forward in the show that was so important that led it to be censored and the funding cut potentially elsewhere. Like, yes, like furthering, like bringing that up again at the end, I think think that did that in the way that renewing of course I would have loved to see them renew their vows, but I do think that they addressed the wedding and made that a part of the ending as it should have been because it's a huge part of the show's history.
Of course.
Yeah.
You are streaming, huh?
Good.
I just went to go check.
I was worried.
It's still not on my subscriptions.
Cool. All right. Oh well.
But I went to your channel and it's come up, so that's exciting.
Good. All right. Well,
it says that there's 2 watching.
Look at that.
Have you had the comments up?
I have the comments in the actual like live chat for while I'm streaming. I see Abby just wrote that Spinel x Cinderella is OTP, which I agree with.
What can I say? I'm a matchmaker.
Yeah, and that the plot twist was that in the chest was another smaller chest, which I think if they did that, then it would have been worse.
People would be angrier at that than no answer at all.
Of course they would have been. Yeah, but I like
in this scenario. No one's even thinking about it.
Yes, but I like the way that your mind works. That's where you went to. Just like a puzzle box inside of a puzzle box. You're a real Damon
More
Lindelof.
Puzzles.
Yeah. Look, Imaginista Creativa says hi, and Sketchers here says hey. There you go. All right. So please continue with the bingo card, Justin.
Someone's saying my diamonds.
They did, right?
Yeah, Jasper did.
Oh, Jasper, of course. In her last one. Okay, you know what? I would have liked a little bit more Jasper. Would have liked a little more Jasper. I'll say that.
We got Amethyst shapeshifts.
Or do you disagree? Did you not want more Jasper?
Oh, I misunderstood you. Sorry about
okay.
that.
Okay.
No, of course I wanted more, and
Yeah.
she just deserves a whole arc. But here's the thing about that.
Yeah.
No matter how much of her you throw in, I'm never going to be satisfied.
That's true. Well, I mean, we used like the full circle. We already used what was built up at the start of the season as its own.
It was very effective.
Yes, back to the forest, back to her. The first thing of when you first see the diamond essence used to recreate someone, and then recreating her after. Thank goodness she was able to be. But then bringing that to. I mean, yes, it would have been cool to see more of the dynamic of Jasper looking up to Steven as her diamond. But I mean, we got it. It was definitely there, and it was amazing. And we should stick to like the core cast that's been there this whole time to really give it the finale feels. So it makes sense. I'm glad she got one last little extra beat at the end. That was good.
It also just shows that she'd be in little homeschool land.
True. Okay, yeah. That's telling that she's not completely isolated.
No, it's showing.
My mistake. Master storyteller, forgive me. Story shower. Oh, there I go again.
No.
I don't deserve this. All right.
Am I gonna have to go get the diamonds?
So that was the running gag for when we were doing our rewatch of the movie in future, because Steven says in the movie at one point, do I need to go get the diamonds? And then he doesn't go get the diamonds. And there's many other points in future where I think he could have asked himself, does he need to get the diamonds? And then eventually he does.
Especially when when he and Rainbow and Sunstone were all watching those gems and onion fall. No, not onion, just the gems fall off a cliff.
Oh yeah, I thought you were gonna say when there were the other.
They could have gotten the diamonds, saved the day.
I thought you were gonna say the part
Don't
with.
Be a Steven.
I thought you were gonna say the part when Holly Blue like brought them up, or in the other episode.
Hi Holly, okay. Want me to go get the diamonds?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. What's next? What's next on the agenda?
Oh, that little thing.
Yeah, that little thing.
Amethyst shapeshifts.
Amethyst shapeshifts. Okay. Well, of course, Amethyst is a shapeshifter.
I actually don't remember. When did she do that?
We've been new. I'm trying to remember right now.
Did she?
There
I'm
had
sure
to be.
If she did, it's something super obvious that we should be remembering, and we should truly feel embarrassed. When would she?
Look, maybe
when
it
would
was
that be applicable?
Well, there wasn't anything in the fight that I hope there wasn't. That would be embarrassing if there was. There could have been a gag. Maybe
it definitely wasn't in the last 2 episodes. Maybe everything's fine.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah, that could have been. Because there was a lot going on.
When she's just goofing around.
She just be goofing, yeah. I mean, yeah, fusion doesn't count.
I don't remember anything specific.
If you could extend fusion to count as shape-shifting, but Imaginista says, I don't think she did. Garnet did, though, technically because of Yellow Diamond, and Spinel did too. Okay, yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, if forming Alexandrite counts, then sure, but yeah, other than that. Okay. So that's one. I can't believe if she didn't, then the finale's ruined in my eyes.
So that was a fakeroo.
Okay.
But also we got new fusion.
New fusion. Okay. Well, in a do we want to say in a literal sense again? Or literal. Okay, well.
You know what people want.
Of course. Well, I mean, hey, what else? What other fusions do we need to see?
This is Steven Jasper.
I mean, hey, that was your theory, or at least one of your theories of what could have happened, right?
I figured it was just Steven. But, Steven Jasper fusion, that could really fun. Just
Fair, very fair. Yeah, that could have been the corrupting force. I agree. Look, if Jasper had been more of a part of the overarching, then I think that would be a choice that's made more sense, because then it becomes Steven Jasper is centered in the finale, when it's all about putting Steven center stage and addressing his issues. So I get why that's not the direction, but hey, I mean, like, why didn't we force Peridot into a fusion finally, right? Were we all waiting for that? Just to clarify, I would not have liked that, because he doesn't fuse, and that's...
Everyone's sick of...
Yep. Everyone's sick of what?
Sickum, like attack Brian rabidly.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I mean, they're going to do that anyway. They're going to do that no matter what I say.
Yeah, as long as they don't attack me, I think we're okay.
Okay, good. All right, what else? What's the next one?
We can hop over to... Next one was Lapis Fleas.
Lapis Fleas. Okay, well, again, really?
Yeah, they thought they'd fake us out with that one.
No, don't do that. Don't do it. I think, we already... Look, the narrative decision of what we did at the end of the original series, with her fleeing that time, I thought it was actually very effectively done for something that could have felt formulaic. The fact that she did go to the moon, but it was also still, like, passively watching because she couldn't fully, like, untether herself, was very effective. And I don't think, I mean, this isn't about her problem. So she's not going to go away. Come on now, right?
Right. And I mean, it also just wouldn't be a place for that here. There's nothing that was immediately threatening in that kind of way.
Yes, of course.
There's a big old scary thing. I'm out.
Yeah, she's not gonna... I mean, what is she gonna... She was always fearing when the diamonds would eventually then show up. Is she gonna turn her back on her friend? I liked how active of a part that she played in this, bringing him over to the ocean, apologizing.
Yeah, my first thought was there's gonna be a lot of that. How do you deal with that kind of issue without having to, like, you can't attack.
Yeah.
Attack.
Yeah. Well, it was heartbreaking because at first they don't even consider the fact that it could be him. It's just like, where is he? That's him. Oh no! What do we do? Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, then he never turned back on. That was another great line with Peridot. Like, you never turn your back on me. I don't understand why.
Yeah, you go through every single one of them.
Yeah.
Like, and Amethyst talking about, like, I the feeling of hating yourself, and Pearl talking about, like, keeping secrets, and Garnet with you were there when I fell apart, and that's what it's all about. Like, I'm there for you, you're there for me, and that's how we better ourselves.
Amethyst was so vulnerable. Garnet's was so cumulative, and Pearl's was so just like a direct line of parallel of, like, like, I've always... You should never have to keep secrets from me, was just the perfect thing for her to say in that moment. Oh, really, really well done. And this doesn't have anything to do with it, but I just remembered it. Bismuth being given, like, the original crystal gem flag really felt like... It's amazing because it's completely fictional, but I felt like history was corrected in that moment, you know?
Well, yeah. She's been given a real tough hand.
Yeah.
Not probably a less tough hand. Not that we should be comparing, but for the sake of comparing.
Yeah, go ahead.
A less tough hand than all those corrupted.
Yeah.
But, like, still, it doesn't matter. It's still incredibly saddening.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's definitely... Oof. Poor Bismuth.
I think the main takeaway from tonight is someone got a new babe.
True that.
There's a karmic... Was it a karmic sense that, this is just feels right.
Oh yeah,
how's
the thing that
for you?
Greg said about how it
Yeah.
felt just right. Then another universe moves in as one goes out. That was another like a finale thing where it's really following the storytelling principle of it's unexpected but feels so right to see something like that happen. A big tectonic shift in the status quo of the show. Finally, Greg finally sleeping in a bed for the first time in his whole life. He can't even get up.
He got a couch in Winter Forecast. Does that count?
It was a good couch, but that's no replacement for a good old bed.
Ooh, ritzy. Oh,
Ritzy?
he got the Mr.
Yeah.
Greg one.
It was so funny when he said that because I thought he was going to be like, "Isn't it childish?" Like in your room, but the fact that he said ritzy was just the peak Greg.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Not the first time he said Ritz either.
Yeah, it was.
Keystone would tell he's all not exactly the Ritz.
He could have. Look, Greg just was chasing that rebellious streak. Oh, and also, okay, the other little thing that Steven had put up the poster of the cover to the album with Mr. Universe.
Kerry Moonshine, was it?
Yeah. That it was up there. That showed, even if it wasn't addressed through the dialogue, that there had been growth from Steven being like, "That's where our name comes from. This is stupid." To look, this wonderful thing that made you so happy and like brought you out of your despair.
It brought us to who we are today, and I'm happy with who we are today.
Yeah, that was great. I'm really glad that they did that. And I'm also glad just because that also makes me think that with the Connie stuff, the way that it was executed in that, because something that I was worried about and I knew wouldn't be a problem because I know the people behind the show are too smart to do this, that the solution would be for Connie to then be like, well, just to be stupid for a second. If it was like, "Oh, well, I was wrong, Steven. I'm sorry. I should have accepted the proposal," right? Like, we didn't
imagine. That'd be nonsense.
Of course, they wouldn't do that, but they weren't even anywhere near that, is what I'm saying. Because the reconciliation isn't in that. It's like, yes, you will be there for him, and there's showing a confirmation of the romance as we then jump forward in time again in the last episode. But it's not, that wasn't the missing piece. Like, to paraphrase Garnet, that wasn't when Steven was looking for something to fill the emptiness inside of himself, that didn't end up being the solution. And it would have been such a betrayal of such a genuine lesson, if it was. So, yeah. Do we have more on the bingo card? Did we go through all of it?
Of course we do. Plenty more.
Oh, good.
Up next is one that is entirely accurate, and that's everything is fine.
Yeah, I'm not crossing that one off.
What?
No.
But everything's fine. Everything was okay forever.
I mean, that's, of course, good place. But going past the little reference there, that's such a fundamental statement that I think anybody who's in denial will cling to. I think that's the big. I know I've said it when things aren't fine in my life. I'm sure that you've said it at plenty of points, because it's just that is your way.
It's a big fave.
Yeah, it's the way of convincing not only others but yourself that you are in a stasis and looking back to, oh, well, I have to remember who I am. I'm Steven. Those things, it's so heartbreaking the beginning when it's like, that didn't happen. I'll push it to the side. And I think maybe the most disturbing and hard to watch moment of the show is the end of that episode. Just the reactions because I was thinking, like, we're going to have to see the gems learn that he shattered Jasper. And that's really rough. That's really rough.
Yeah, I mean, watching those reaction shots were in the promo, and you got the vibe of like, oh, they're seeing the monster for the first time. But like,
well, yes,
they're hearing something bad in a very different way.
They are seeing the monster in a metaphorical sense for the first time, but it rings so much more genuinely and relatably than if he just sprouted up as the big physical threat. To hear that was just so heartbreaking and distorting of like, I don't know, you think I've been able to do all of this, and that you know me, and this is not. Ugh, the biggest potential condemnation of everything that the show had stood for. This is what I had started the stream talking about. Just that he is addressing that any previous redemption is then fine, and the mistakes of the past are fine because we get better. And it's like it sounded like someone reading then the SU critical nasty comments towards redemption and being like, oh, this is what the show is saying, but like using it in like a really smart way to address, well, no, it's not. That's not how we should look at it, Steven. That's not the lesson we take away. And yeah, the end of that is the scariest end. The very, very end is the scariest end to any episode.
3 striking endings.
Yes.
Back to back.
Yes. For sure.
Ugh. Woo. And a lot of crying.
A lot of crying. We crossed off that. We crossed off that part. What do we got?
But like,
yeah,
like I mentioned earlier, like with a lot of really good finales, it's not particularly happy or sad. It's just, yeah, this is the next step, and it feels right.
Especially in the ending, I think the vibe that, at least in terms of recent other finales I've seen, it was very reminiscent of, let's mention it, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic's ending, because you had then a big 2-parter action spectacle, but then you had The Last Problem, which was then showing a change that was then befalling the main gang in a very grounded scenario, and that's what we got in our like last 10 minutes here, and it feels right. I like when, again, back to Foster's, I like when then it's a small like ending beat, even if there's been bigger, higher stakes adventures in the past or even just before, that we it is, because it's an epilogue limited series. Let's get the epilogue of the epilogue. Let's close the book like that. I was grateful to see. Yep.
Do you want to jump to the next twiddle?
Let's do it.
We got a we got a Onion wins the World Series.
What? Wins the World Series?
He got a good hit.
Oh, of course. Okay. Yeah, all right. I guess that won the World Series. But is it the World Series or the Universe Series? That's what I'm wondering.
That's next season.
Was I wrong? Did I mishear? Speaking of, because I mean that's not exactly a copyrighted phrase, but did Connie say Google Maps? Did she say Google Maps in the episode?
I think she did.
Wow, we're getting that Google product placement. I mean, we're legit. Google wants to be a part of the universe. Okay. Did they?
You gotta just treat it like it's a normal standard. Yeah, just.
I guess I was just surprised. I mean, like, we have, what, 39 states? 39? But we do have Google. So, okay.
You're totally right. Like, yeah. I didn't even think of it from that angle.
Yeah. Google always, look, no matter what, in all of the possible futures that Garnet can see, Google always reigns supreme and dominant.
And we welcome our Google overlords.
Yes, please. Give me money, please.
If this is monetized, they are paying you.
They are. And look, did I say anything negative about Google? Did I say anything negative about Google?
No, never.
Okay. I'm asking just to make sure, because if I did, then I'm going to delete all of this right
now. You showed surprise.
Oh, Abby said, I think she said Boogle, actually, or something like that. We'll have to check the tape.
That makes more sense. That makes a lot more sense for the show.
We'll have to check the tape. But still, it was pretty close.
I'll just buy it, you know?
But it's even if it is Boogle, the resemblance is uncanny. We are going to think Google in that moment. There you go. Okay.
Who's we?
I don't know.
It's both of us. Oh, I admit it. It's the truth.
It's the diamonds. Okay. Continue. What's next?
Told me to go too cray, but I will like to announce now that Drew Perlman liked one of my tweets, so
Really?
I'm gonna roll today.
Okay. Well, if you can, while you're on looking at Twitter and other sources, grab the link. I've been resistant to opening up the link because I don't have headphones in, and I know whenever I go to the link to get the link to paste it and share it anywhere, then you're gonna hear the echo of the stream. So if you could do that,
I'm texting you the usual, like, here's someone who uploaded everything to every platform.
Great. I mean, no.
Tonight it'll be on iTunes.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about literally the link to the stream. Give me the link to my own stream. I don't need any link. Justin, I don't know what you're talking about there, because I'm going to be watching these episodes on CartoonNetwork.com and iTunes and.
Well, that's what I usually do, but usually when people ask for assistance, it's the people who don't have access to that.
Yeah.
Facts are facts.
Well, we do.
I'm able to easily watch on Cartoon Network, so I do.
We are one of the 39 states that has access to CartoonNetwork.com. So we got it, and we'll get it. Look, when the Blu-ray inevitably comes out, because we'll get a Blu-ray, then we'll watch them on there.
I'm sending you the link to your live stream.
Thank you. Yeah, because I didn't want to open it and have that echo. That's what I was talking about. Okay. Anywho.
They were making echo.
Yeah. So anywho.
Wait, what's this?
What's
this about alcohol?
What?
Wait, it says 9 months ago? What is this?
What? What are you talking about? Where?
It's getting all glitchy. I'm seeing the chat that I'm supposed to be seeing for this episode, for this stream. But I'm also seeing 593 comments, and a lot of them are talking about Adam and Michael and alcohol. I think that's the Object Con stuff.
Well,
right?
that's it's funny you say that. That was what I was thinking when I heard alcohol. No, absolutely not would be offered there. Well, who knows if anyone's just tuning into some Steven Universe discourse right now. They're like, what's being discussed? So we won't dwell on that. Don't worry.
Let's move on forward then. Next on the bingo sheet was Zircon versus Zircon. Heck yeah!
That happened.
Steven Universe did them right. Except I need to hear that lovely voice some more. That's the only shame. Oh,
of course. Well, look, Amy Sedaris is always a win. But yeah, it was good to see more Zircon representation because it had been sorely missing since the trial. One of the greatest episodes of Steven Universe.
Gosh, it's way up there. It's crazy engaging how they told that story, and there's a lot of great court episodes of TV, but that you really get into Zircon's mindset and actually cracking a case on the spot in a way that you wouldn't think through. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then people try to compare it to the Star versus court case that happened at a very similar point. And I'm just like, what? You feel as riveted during that? I mean, we love Star. Everyone loves Star, of course.
Yes. Yes, Justin, Star really doesn't need any more negative criticism right now.
You're right. A lot of people were bashing the ends of that. And I ain't on that boat.
I ain't on that boat either.
Succumb to the negativity.
Look, the quick thing I'll put out into the world on Star, and then we'll get off the subject, is since it's based Star and Marco, I think very much on Darren and her own partner, and I take it as okay, well then you had at first, like any relationship, there's them coming into your world. Coming into their world, then them coming into your world. So that's the first 2 seasons, respectively, of Star on Earth, and then Marco to Muni, and then at the end, then when the relationship cements, then that comes together. So as a metaphor, then you see then the purpose in that. If there are other consequences to the world besides that, then oh noes. But I see the beauty in that as an artistic statement. But anyway, we're not here to litigate Star versus finale.
It's really weird that you said real quick, and then here we are 3 hours later.
It wasn't 3 hours. What did it take? 30 seconds? 45? That is quick for me. That is quick.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next on the list was
What?
Steven goes swimming.
Oh, well, in
He took a
tears.
dip.
He also swam in his own tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monstrous as such.
Mhm.
That was a lot of fun. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Monsters need baths too. And that's the lesson. Wash your hands, kids.
I did see they played the ad that had the Greg. All right, I'll wash my hands. I'm so glad that's getting the showcase it deserves right now.
Greg was a riot for the movie. So
He was.
Greg should be, showcased all day, every day.
Too soon, Amethyst. Yeah.
He's in constant pain, and we shall giggle at it.
Yeah. Well, now he's not. Now he finally has a home. And now, of course, that's when pain ends, when you have a home.
What was up next on that list? We're on the final row.
Well, we did Steven taking a dip.
Yeah, so we got Big Donut Falls.
Well, there was the thing where then he readjusted it. Yeah.
It's a fake out. So if you read the bingo card ahead of time, you would have that in your head and go, "Oh no, this is when it happens."
Do you think that they made the bingo card first and then re-engineered the episode around the bingo card, or the bingo card did that come later? What are your thoughts on that, Justin?
Can you repeat the first half of that again? What was the first option?
It's a stupid question. That's definitely okay. Is it that they made the bingo card first and then re-engineered the episode to the expectations of what would happen after the bingo card, or did they make the episode and then the bingo card after? That's my brilliant question.
I mean, you say it's a funny question, but you could think of it as when you're writing, you want to write something that is exciting and engaging, and in theory, right, you probably won't be thinking exactly this, but tangentially thinking what would make a bingo card exciting.
Yeah. Well,
because if you're making something that has zero bingo card worthy engagement, you might want to throw something in there that will garner any level of interest.
Sure. I mean, it
doesn't need to be an exciting development if that's not fitting, but
I take that moment
for the purpose of Steven. Yeah.
I take that moment as a microcosm of his repression, because it's falling apart, but he stitches it back together.
Really good at it.
Oh, I try.
All right, Brian. Here's the biggest new development of the night. Brand new for this night that is 2 nights. Ready?
Okay.
Blue Diamond sings.
She did sing, and finally she sang, with no other vocals to overpower her.
White was the one who got C-worded there. Family-friendly stream where no cucks exist,
well, now they do. Thanks.
Oh, dang it.
That wasn't you being C-word as in coy? That was just an actual slip of the tongue? All right.
I'm just being we're silly tonight.
I did mark this stream as not for kids, so don't worry. We're good. Because Steven's not a kid anymore, okay? So stop treating him like a kid and see him, Snow Day, for
who he is.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Snow Day's still an all-star.
It is an all-star. It's that good classic feels of, and also, well, any parent can then relate to wanting their kid to then be their kid, but loving who they are now, and that's why they want to hang out with them so bad. Yeah.
I mean, and there's also just the element of Steven losing touch with his younger self so deeply. I mean, that's more of the series-long issue.
Mm-hmm.
But then he gets that little rush with the other tinier Stevens at the end of that episode, and you just feel so at peace with it.
It was a
Granted,
great
1,000 issues happen after that, but
yes, they do. But hey, it was nice to see a little final moment for a bunch of the fusions and new Steven-y forms. So great.
Every fusion. What fusions did not show up throughout all of future. Malachite.
Well, yeah, that should not.
And when I say fusions, I mean of familiar characters. I mean,
Stag.
even Lemon Jade showed up. Oh yeah, no Stag.
Yeah.
No Stag.
But like, would we see that again? Yeah, I don't think we need to.
I mean, he's a cool guy. A lot of people were thinking Mr. Universe would allow him to show up.
Look, I would love to see some more Stag. It's just his moment is so iconic. You
can't one up it. It's impossible.
It's impossible. It's
impossible.
Okay.
Malachite, Stag. Anyone else?
I don't think so.
I thought we got everyone else.
I don't think so. Unless you can't. I mean,
we still didn't see Stars, Steven and Lars.
Oh well. Okay.
Granted, hasn't existed in the first place, but the excitement that would behold. The name is perfect.
We didn't see all the rubies fusion into a big ruby. Charlene Yee was like gypped out of a paycheck. Oh man, a giant paycheck.
Had a lot of Ruby in the season, and I could appreciate that much.
There was a lot. I love whenever I hear her. So yeah.
Delightful voice.
Yes.
Someone gets poofed.
Someone gets poofed.
That's one that's close but not quite.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, people are being healed.
But Shattering was before that.
Yeah.
So I guess that there's no. Yeah, nothing.
Is there anything? While I remember it, is there anything about the cluster elsewhere on the card?
There's only one spot left after.
Oh, okay.
What I just said.
Okay, well, since we already just brought it up, then I was intrigued because we got the Homeworld Bound mention of Yellow going to address the cluster, and I was wondering if that was meant to be a foreshadowing thing to remind you that the cluster is there, or if that was meant to be like, okay, we're wrapping things up, we don't really have time to talk about it, but just so you know, that will be dealt with. So I wasn't necessarily expecting to see the cluster return.
Yeah, neither was I.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the most momentous things that Steven has accomplished. So getting it there, nice.
For sure.
Gosh, how long is that going to take Yellow Diamonds?
I mean, she is a diamond, so.
I'm not saying she can't handle it with her long lifespan, but how long does that take? Think about like all like the middle-aged mothers who like just take up doing puzzles in their spare time.
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest puzzle challenge ever conceived of.
It's true. I'd say it's like more like crochet. I think.
Right, that's a kind of word that I know to be like fancy old people thing, but I never. Is it like knitting? I always thought it was like knitting.
I mean, for the longest time, yes, I would have said that too. That I didn't quite know, but it is.
You have matured. You have evolved, and we're proud of you.
It is exactly. No, that's basically what it is. Yes, old people knitting, but like very, very textile-y, interlocking the strands of materials together. Yeah, a variety of such materials in the way that the cluster certainly would be. Yeah. Oh, Imaginista said the spin-off where it's just Yellow Diamond restoring gems. I mean, that could easily be another 5 seasons.
That could be. I'm thinking like, you have the Connie cool vibes, lo-fi nonsense.
For like a live stream, you mean?
Good to study too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Yellow Diamond working on the cluster. That could be a nice, relaxing time, and I could get behind that.
Yeah, nice loop of that. I dig it. I like
a loop of it with like 10 different colors to shuffle through over like. Do you watch some? There's no way that like she would be able to get all the pieces of a single gem in that span of time.
Yeah.
So, she's just picking out a bunch of colors and like shuffling between like 10 different colors to get some variety in the video over the course of 10 hours.
I like that. Yeah. Instead of just Connie flipping.
I feel relaxed already.
Connie flipping
I feel
the
like
same
I'm
page
living on a blue diamond cloud.
Oh yes, Connie flipping the same page back and forth in the loop is great. Look, she just she keeps forgetting. She just has trouble with long-term memory.
Oh, that's sad in itself. We need a sequel to the original just to discover how she's going to deal with this short-term memory issue.
Agreed. Okay. What's the last tile on
Is she ever going to find her parents?
She's trapped. She's trapped in a lo-fi video. She was trapped in it for the longest time.
All right, last one is Peridot heals a plant.
Aw. Well.
Kaboom!
Peridot
is what happened.
Yeah. I had seen, because there was one of the promo images, I think, from an interview Rebecca did. Was it? No, it wouldn't have been last week. Was it last week? It came out before the fragments, and it had images of Steven and Jasper with the rocks, and it did have one of Garnet with with the Steven Big Plant boys. So I knew to expect something like that, but I wasn't sure how central they'd be to the episode. I didn't know if we were in for another thing like in the end of season 5 where we get a whole episode of watermelon goodness. So it was, I think it was well integrated and implemented. So then it felt like all threads were covered once more before the end. Got to stay away from the plants. It didn't go well last time. He's off plant duty. Is that what they said? Something like that.
Yeah, something like
yeah.
No, that was really funny.
That was really funny. I was shocked to see the In Dreams callback too. That it was appearing on the television again. I was like, oh man, I didn't know. I thought that was just the fun one-off adventure.
They also had to
foreshadow
the fact that Steven's going to be broadcasting himself. That's a weird. It's still kind of a weird beat that they didn't mention until the one scene that it comes up in.
I did think that was so. What did they have, like their own lo-fi loop that they were looking at him, or did he really just broadcast himself doing that over and over again? Saying
I think over and over again. Well, it was his subconscious,
sure,
which was asserting that everything's fine. So
single-minded. Yeah,
the subconscious itself was on loop.
Right. Okay. So that's that was disturbing. And then what was then the phrase like shifted into something else as it was glitching, right?
Yeah. So something that states I need help.
Right. Steven needs help or something. Yeah. Something like that. Epic Michael has a great observation, which is that they should have called the last episode Crying Gem Friends.
It's Crying Gem Friends.
Very good.
Yeah, there are a lot of tears, and that's what the show be all about. And it's just the right amount of goofy and over the top, and just the right amount of this is authentic. This is how a real reaction to this would go. Mm-hmm. You get the driving off to college vibes.
Yes. Oh, he might never come back. This is an important part of adolescence.
He'll be back for Christmas.
Oh, of course.
Oh, there's no Christmas. Yeah. Never mind. He's never coming back.
Well, that's why it was so good. The ending beat of like, yes, we'll, in all of the possible futures, we're a part of it. We're there for you. We're listening to you. That's just everything that you want. Not just Steven to hear, but for you to hear from your caretakers, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's a good seeing off the kid as Oh man.
Just a little time. Just a little something else instead. Tears of sorrow, tears of joy. There'll be tears till the very end. Rocks with feelings. We are the crystal gems. That's from Abby, and I can appreciate that.
Good. I was hoping that you would sing some sort of new version of the Crying Breakfast Friends song, because unfortunately we can't enjoy new episodes of that yet because it's still on hiatus and it'll come back one day, whenever that is. Wink.
It's never coming back. Never miss a beat. Yeah.
Can't go back. Okay. So yeah, we thoroughly covered. I mean, we didn't dwell too much on Homeworld Bound because we had seen it. But that was a great episode.
I'm assuming that no one is here being like, Oh my gosh! I finally saw Homeworld's Bound?
I mean, but like to encapsulate that, I won't say quickly because I'm never quick and I want to be called out. But to
Oh, but I
have,
wanted to call you out.
thank you. To go from not only getting us then our last slices of diamond goodness, but the way that the episode was so expertly structured to take us through each one as the problem and the potential to address it continued to develop, going from yellow to blue to white, the changing of the physical form to then wanting to then feel better instead of being better, and then the actual issue of self-worth. I thought it all just it was great in that there's a lot of times where you have an episode of a cartoon that at its bare is going to do like the rule of three thing, where it's like, all right, well, here's going to be, okay, there's this part of the episode that'll be devoted to this character and it'll be split in thirds as such, and there could be an obligatory static feeling to an episode like that, but not there, because each one, not only are you getting that progression continuing, you're getting to see each station of growth for those characters and befitting them, because every time we see them, they go like they move forward, and it's such a colossal step forward every time that we see those characters. So it was nice to then, after the time has passed, to watch them genuinely making the effort to be better, after the realistic showing of, even in the movie, how they were very much associating with goodness with just Pink and trying to then please Pink just for pleasing Pink, that they had gotten past that. It was good to see. They're making the progress. So yeah, it was and Spinel. I mean, I'm Spinel trash. So all the little Spinel slapstick moments, like, they're really doing it for me. The lips
Still the best.
flying with the wind and like smatter and like the doing her nails and stuff. Great. Like, she's the best.
The Sonic, the Tails.
Yeah.
What more can you want?
Where you going? And yeah, I mean, it's so great that yes, she gets the change reprise, but like the music isn't like agreeing with her in that moment. She's just off on her own thing because Steven's not listening to it.
What do I compare to recently? I remember I was having a chat with Michael about it. I was like, oh, it's just like this other song where like you take it and you make it anxious. Oh, it's like in the movie where it's not quite the exact same thing, but
Sure.
like it's still Spinel related, so related enough. When Steven starts singing "Here We Are in the Future" and it's wrong, but you have Spinel like jumping around, being giddy,
Right.
and that just makes it all the more painful as a comparison piece.
Well, what was so effective about doing it with change is that that's such a late stage song for this franchise that really feels like a big like part of like the central expression of what it preaches and teaches to the audience. And to have that, I was talking at the beginning of this about how the show is willing to deconstruct itself and question itself, and of course even right after the initial singing of change, it's then, oh, is it another stupid song, they can't make anything better from that. But to have Steven himself even then be rejecting it, don't use my own advice on me, it's just insane. It shows how willing the show is to be like, is this helping? I don't know. Good show. Bold show.
I mean, it's his custom advice for individual people, and then when it's back to him, it's
yeah. Oh man. Sad days.
But happy days
are here again. Okay. Was there anything else that we wanted to address, either like specifically finale wise or just reflecting on the show as a whole, that we wanted to put out into?
Jeez, I had the same exact issue with like post reaction video, and I'm like,
how could you? Right?
There's so many topics that you could dive deep into, but it's like, where did I start?
I don't know. That's why I asked you. That's why I asked you, buddy.
It's a show that I've discussed for more hours of my life than anything else.
And we'll continue too, is the thing. Like, it's not like we're giving the final statement on this and then we move on with our lives. No, this will continue to very much be a part of it. But any effort to then just to immortalize the feelings that you had on the night of your favorite favorite piece of media, favorite thing ever ending, perhaps. No pressure. No pressure. If you want to archive it for yourself.
It's paralyzing.
Paralyzing. So that's the word. Okay. But is it temporarily paralyzing or is it paralyzing?
All paralyzation is temporary. Yeah. All of it. No one can make an argument against me.
I'm pretty sure that's not true at all, but sure.
I'm sure Taco would agree with me.
Okay, fair enough. But Taco would. Yes, Taco would.
And I can't think of a single other person who would have a valid opinion.
Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Staller. Keep stalling as you rack your brain to even consider a closing statement worthy of this beautiful show.
Are we doing closing statements right now?
I mean, we don't have to. I was just asking. It was depending on how much more we had to say. This goes on. Look, Justin, I am giving you a platform to speak, and I will let you have it for as long as you choose to.
It's a powerful platform. I've never been able to speak to 3 people before.
Mm-hmm. Hey, 4 people? 4 people.
Yeah, I saw the number go up just now. Yeah. I saw.
Yeah. Just to spite you. It went down to 3 again.
Say again?
It just went back down to 3.
Yeah. They got. It's someone who had a lot of stage fright. We call them out, and
we made them self-conscious.
And then they're out.
We made them self-conscious. Okay, but yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't. You don't have to write the conclusive passage on what this text meant to you, but if you any musings of any kind are very much welcome, both from Justin and also in the chat. By all means.
I'm glad that we're able to hit on each main character individually and have them have a reflection of here's where I went wrong, but not I am in the wrong, but I could have done better with this, could have been done better with that. Amethyst had a very painful moment. If I saw there was something wrong but didn't do anything.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Greg talked about actually wanting to resolve his previous. What had Steven term it, like a discussion?
Yeah.
Or a spat. Something to that effect.
Right. Oh, petty. He talks about like petty feelings, and he's not sure if he wants to discuss those later on, obviously. But the Amethyst thing, I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought that was such an effective thing of just any time when you see someone that's spiraled and you felt like the responsibility was on your shoulders. Like hindsight's 2020, right? Like it's the Monday morning quarterbacking of, well, I should have noticed. I even had like a feeling, but I didn't know what to then do. And it can be hard to like another like heartbreaking moment in the episodes was when they're first coming up to him and everything's fine, and he tries to insist that like, no, I'm good, and this is who I am now and such. And they're like, okay, well then we'll have to take your word for it, is then what Garnet says. And at a certain point, that is all that then you can do if then they're not going to open up to then be heard. Again, I know Steven doesn't like hearing his own advice back at him, but you can't change the way that he feels, only he can, right? So there you go.
What do you think is next for that kid?
What's next for him?
Yeah.
I had discussed the potential of, and this was if his fate would return to Beach City, which I don't really necessarily see it happening. I could see him enjoying being the mayor, honestly. I could see Nanafoa being like, listen, the only reason that I took this position was because the previous person who held it was incompetent. But in your hands, Steven, I feel confident that Beach City will be safe. And he would like, being able to go about town, being a very active, interpersonal mayor. I think he could enjoy that. I think like some political stature would be interesting and feels built up to from the political power days of season 1. That could be something, or it could just be he could just open a bakery. He likes that. I don't know. He could do a little some donut shop of his own. I could see anything in regards to that. It depends on how large scale he wants. If he wants to settle, then he can settle. If he wants to set his sights high, then he can. But I could see maybe the value in him settling for a little bit with something just fun that then he's passionate about. Maybe he continues his career in TV writing / dreaming. Maybe that's where it goes. Who knows? The world, the universe is his oyster.
Do they just set him on the Steven Sugar path, and he's doing beautiful background arts? He doesn't have to draw hands, so that's a plus for him. He doesn't like doing that.
He has canonically visited an animation studio in season 4.
That's the start. Yeah. That's how they get you. Mm-hmm. And it's all downhill from there.
Well, did you have any thoughts on what's next for Steven? And before you answer the question, I'll read out what Imaginista wrote, which was, I think that the scene after Steven turned back to normal and started crying, it just felt so real. And I know that this sounds cliche, but I felt that because while not at the extreme of Steven, I've been there. And I completely agree. I think that in terms of a moment of authenticity is really just unparalleled and so primal and effective.
The show's always nailed. I mean, the show will be silly, but like when it comes to the emotions, like it wants to feel as authentic as possible. The show completely diverts the age of irony and just says, hey, love is a legitimately good thing, so why act like it's not? Why act like it's some ridiculous thing that means nothing to no one? The show speaks to a lot of people because of that, and there's so many shows that I enjoy that'll be like, hey, I'm not gonna hug you or anything, but I appreciate you from afar. And make a big goof about it, but sometimes it's nice to see people care. And when we are our authentic selves, we get results emotionally.
It was a pretty good statement about the show as a whole, Justin, I gotta say.
That was pretty conclusive.
That was pretty conclusive, but I do want to ask you, what is next for the kid? What's next for the kid in your mind? Because I feel like you know
that
best.
was me trying to delay.
Sure.
Star Wars. Because I don't know. I like the mayor thought, but like, I don't know, Steven really wants to help people emotionally. We learned from Mayor Dewey that, of course, as far as Dewey was aware, it wasn't about actually making things better, but he couldn't control what happened to the city, but he could control how people feel about it. But we learned from the show that was a negative mindset to go in with, because if you have power, you got to use it right. I think Connie will go into politics.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, here's the thing. It might sound a little silly, but okay, so we have the Steven's birthday joke where he's
first boy.
What does that make me? First boy when Connie becomes president. But like,
which of course he will. Yeah.
When you hear like the stories of what like the first ladies of the U.S. will do and going across seas and diplomacy and charity and all this really sweet stuff. That does sound like a Steven position.
That, you know what? I'm really glad that you said that. The direction that I thought you were going to go for a second, and I just wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. Something that was finally referenced in the very end of this show. So then we know that this exists in the Steven world. Steven's getting a therapist, who would be nice to see. Great. We love to see it. But Steven,
I think that would be it could be a good job for Steven. I think he should avoid that job.
Okay. Well. Before you give your thoughts on that, and I'm sure that makes sense. I think if we're going in the foreshadowing of, we've seen him as like the literal doctor in the volleyball episode. Since we get that moment of him as the physical doctor helping them heal physically, to paraphrase Dr. Maheshwaran herself, how about helping them recover mentally? How about helping? He obviously has then looked at the world through a a therapist lens in the past, and perhaps that's why then you want to see him get away from that and not take on the baggage of others' problems in the future. It is something he's good at, and if he was comfortable with going further down that avenue, I think he would continue to be very good at it. But
He
what are
would
your
be
thoughts?
good at it. I think he needs to avoid forcing himself. I think he so naturally puts himself in a position to be giving his all to other people that the last thing he needs is to also turn his profession into that.
Okay.
That he gets enough of that, and he can't take on the entire world's burdens. That's unhealthy.
I see.
I don't know how the average world therapist lives.
Right.
In the sense of like, I don't know if like they're also taking on all if the average therapist also takes on all their friends and family's weight as well as their clients. But like, I would at least imagine that can be taxing on someone. I think Steven should be in a position where he can do a variety of things, and if helping people is one of those things, then that's good.
Sure.
I don't think that should be his core job, but what do I know? He got to figure out himself.
I gotcha. I mean, I think it does speak to something in his core that all of the potential roles for him in the future, on some level, involve him giving help to others. If it is through more of a charity lens instead of then going back to a patient week after week and then helping them in that way, then I can see how it would be less maybe overwhelming from the perspective that you were describing, while still letting him continue being the helpful caretaker guy he is. It's interesting. No, there's a lot that could, and it's nice that the show, there could be merit in seeing exactly what that path was, but again, the unknown is what he's driving straight towards, and there's a lot of power in that, and any kid can see themselves in that, and it's fine for it could then be, look, whenever then you relate to any character who's then going through a major period of depression or anxiety, or I think really in this case depression, like, it could then, in its resolution, you risk potentially alienating anyone who is connected with it on such a personal level. If you then see, oh, well, then here's then the thing, there's the fix, and they get it, and now they have it, and that worked for them, but it's not going to work for you. And I think that's something that would then really be a struggle in terms of representing it on a creative level and as a teaching tool in the way that the show so often and so very naturally was. I think they had the right direction in keeping that ambiguous for a multitude of reasons. But that be me.
What do you think coming out of this finale will be someone's main, like, okay, if it's a word that's like the people who are going, because every big animated show nowadays gets it's like, oh dang, that finale, not my cup of tea.
Right. So what's
not what you think was a negative, but what do you think, like, the big negative coming out of it is going to be for people who are looking for negatives?
The negatives that I could see people being like pointing to are, not enough in the way of action. It's all mostly centralized in one of the final 4 episodes, when it could have been a big spanning spectacle, because that Steven Universe has always been about the big fighting, and I wanted to get a big fight. You could have that. You could have, I wanted more in the way of final music numbers, because in terms of like a last new song, we didn't get a last new song unless you hadn't seen Homeward Bound before, and yes, that song is lovely. But the last song is then we get the Cookie Cat reprise from the Gems, or really? We're just regressing.
You can't go full circle unless the final thing is the first thing.
It felt like then
Cookie Cat couldn't be the second to last thing.
We already had our We Are the Crystal Gems payoff in, oh god, I love the Change Your Mind version of We Are the Crystal Gems. I think that's really, that deserves more in the way of credit. I love finally seeing the "go out for pizzas" line in an episode of the show. That extra verse just the closure from that. I love it. It never gets old. But we did it. We did it already. So bring it back to Cookie Cat.
Yeah,
bring it back to Cookie Cat.
I was wondering if Love Like You would hop back on in.
It could that could have been cool too, but yeah, no new big original final song. How could they? But it ends with the new credit song coming in. So yeah, it does get them. So I don't even think that critique really makes sense. I mean, what else? What could people really point to? I guess they could say we could
jump back to treasure chest nonsense.
No, we're not even going to talk about that anymore. Look, I think then they could say, well, Steven Universe Future was really good. But was it necessary? That could be the legacy that it takes on for some people of like, well, but it was such a good end. It was resolved. Did we need to have this extra step of Steven's whole? I mean, I don't know if we did. Were the stakes really raised?
I would argue that it was Steven's biggest flaw, and it wasn't touched on in the original.
I agree. It raised the stakes by making them more personal. And like the thing we had talked about, the movie I think is a piece of art and wonderful, and I could watch it over and over and I never get tired of it. When I first watched the movie, I was expecting, and we had discussed this recently, the more we were seeing Steven continue to deteriorate as losing his powers, and it was taking everything out of him, but he was still putting all of himself on the line until he really had like nothing left to give. I was wondering if the lesson would then end up being like, no, I mean, self-care is important, and I need to remember that and not just give all of me to others. But it was more just, it was a reflection of knowing that he got so caught up in the happily ever after idealism that he needed to embrace the willingness to change. And that fits what that movie was. But I'm really glad that we did get to the ultimate lesson of self-care for our main guy. Because I've heard in the past people be like, "Oh, that's Steven, always the happy." Now I remember the word that comes up that Steven uses. He said, "Like, you think I'm this angel?" Because I've heard that before of like, "Oh, what kid is ever this good?" You know, well, who like it's not. He's just this perfect entity. He became the perfect entity that one could say that Rose was at one point. So then, of course, we had to deconstruct that and show that he needed to take a step back and let himself accept help. So yeah, I reject that criticism. Can you think of any other big criticism that would be leveled against this? Of like, then, oh, it's not high stakes enough, but it is because it's more personal. Like, I don't.
Not the finale, but I mean, even within our own friend group, there's a few people who are like, it was nicer when it was cuddly Steven. But I mean, when the show's all about Steven showing some thorns, like, I mean, not much you could do there.
But this, for me, is what cemented like Steven himself as a character for the ages, right? Like,
sure, totally.
I think this is what his hero's journey has now had. Its final chapter is so much more meaningful for him to that, because before, if you don't have Future, then who is Steven? What is he? What is his whole thing that then he's then indicative of then the goodwill and helping people to get to a place where they're able to change their mind if they're willing to open up to that possibility, and that no, he's not surrounding himself by inferior beings to make himself feel better and like encouraging their terrible behavior, as White Diamond was trying to gaslight him into believing. That it's not that. No, Steven is then the beacon of good progress in this world, and that's what he is to be. That would then be his legacy as a character that has graced our screens. But now I think we got a whole lot more from showing him being fallible, that it's not just like, well, Rose Pink was the fallible one, and we wish that we didn't have her to disgrace the past history. If only Steven could have been there in all of his glory and wisdom and perfection. No, that doesn't exist. Even in the pursuit of progress, we can't look to that as finite and perfect. No, we all got to work on ourselves.
And we'll continue to. I mean, God, I'm thinking like Jasper and.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, she's given a hopeful spot for the future right now.
Yeah.
She's found a nicer home within a community. Would you have liked to see her for the second to last episode?
Oh, helping?
Yeah.
I think because no, because of a specific reason. Because I think she would have been too removed because of the My Diamond thing, because of the way that she was looking up to him at this point, right? I don't think that we would have gotten an honest enough reaction from her to really stand with the other. Of course, I mean, like when the Diamonds are looking at him in that moment, their reaction has a flawedness to it. But I think Jasper doesn't have that long-term love commitment with him to really let that, as great as it would be if the circumstances surrounding that character were different, and then she could have then been a part of that. I think it was the right call. But I see that. Yeah, that's a very good point. Imagine Nista. Sorry, go ahead.
It's an interesting one because I did think, like, personally, from the beginning of the season, I was kind of expecting Jasper to be a big part of whatever that big climax would be. But what was I going to say? It would be. I do think it would take away from the core emotion of the moment. But I would be curious to see what a version of the episode would look like if, like, Jasper watched everyone solve everything with a hug, and Jasper, was just kind of looking off me like, huh, kind of thing.
That could be. Hey, look, that makes Jasper a little bit of the focus character in a sense. It's interesting. I was watching.
We would have to get follow up with her as well and all that, but like
that reminds me a lot of because I was just watching finally on the Steven Universe the movie DVD. I went through the documentary, but I also went through Rebecca pitches Act 3, which is such a good feature, and there's a part because she's so into it and she really sells it and makes it like just as good.
She's been in so many interviews talking about like the difficulty and like needing to like learn to pitch big again and really try to win people over, and how she hates. Yes. I would hate being in that scenario too.
Yes, but there's a very telling moment in that, and that's when it gets to the point when like the day is saved and Steven goes over to Connie telling Spinel, like assuring her that he'll be right back. And then in this moment when Spinel is witnessing the reconciliation between Steven and Connie, I think Rebecca even says something of like Spinel looking at, oh, that's what friends are, like of that. It was so crucial that I think that, and so that's sort of what you're saying that they could have done with Jasper in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a movie that really centered Spinel, then I think that choice
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to be giving Steven a moment in that scene, but you are in I Am My Monster.
Exactly. Ollie Doodles wanted to know what happened with Bluebird. So
no. I mean Bluebird will, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what's more likely? Bluebird has a sad breakup, or Bluebird spends so long together that Eyeball and Aquamarine start to really appreciate each other in a way that they didn't start out with.
Well, if we're going off of what Steven seemed to hint at, it's that their fusion is based in something that isn't a true kind of love, right?
Right.
So it wouldn't. But maybe if it grew to be.
Whatever feeling you start off with fusion seems to just intensify over time. There's not really anything that changes. Yeah. With Malachite, it was a hatred that just worsened with time.
Yes. So there is, look.
I think there will be a breakup one day, and Eyeball is going to go to Steven with, like, sad day feels and say, I don't know what to do with myself. And then Jasper bursts in and goes, I don't know what to do with myself. And Eyeball goes, Jasper? And, they'll go on a date. It's not going to work out, but, like, know, it's worth a try.
That kind of date, yeah. Look, I mean, there's merit also in having some level of antagonist still floating out there, because not all of the issues of the world have been solved. There is still someone who has a very in-depth knowledge of horror movies, with lots of ideas from them. It's gonna get maybe. I don't know. They'll be fine. We have a comment from the T. Grodes, who says, Yeah, who they say, "How much did you cry, and did you save the tears for Rebecca?"
I, like bottle them up and ship them out because that sounds fun.
I mean, I have a bottle here that I've been drinking. If you want to see it as my tears, if that does anything for you, then by all means.
It's gonna sell big II creator here, selling the juices.
Yo, great.
Heckin', yeah, plenty of tears. I don't think any tears rolled out of my eyes, but they were there. They were there.
My eyes were a teary. They were a tearing up. Yeah.
So yeah, I mentioned earlier, I did the reaction video filming. Maybe I'll post it, maybe not. But like, I am curious if I could like, in theory, I'd like to like create an alternate timeline where I could like peer in on like how differently my reactions would go if I didn't like have a vague awareness of a camera in front of me.
Sure.
Which for all I know, maybe my reactions would be more contained. That makes sense.
I had a similar thought watching Rebecca pitch Act 3, her being filmed. I was wondering if that would like throw her off in any way, but no, she is so in it. There's so many people watching her at the table, and yeah, it's hard. So I guess what I'm saying, Justin, is that you're not talented enough to overlook the existence of the camera near you. I'm sorry for that.
So we got a comment about
sad silence.
About
Nothing. Go ahead.
I was saying that we got Ollie talked about bad lapis in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah. That could have been good to see her come back and be like.
But I am good with Why So Blue's thought of like,
yeah,
you're not going to win everyone over right away, but you know. It'll happen slowly and surely, one at a time.
I was more
as long as you propose good messages that are well thought out and meaningful and heartfelt.
If I can amend my previous statement, seeing the other Lapis, I think I would have liked to potentially see. Her.
Yeah, there was nice and mean Lapis, right?
Yes, to really whittle them down. Yes, to oversimplify. Yes. And that is, and when we were rewatching, there's the whole thing of like, oh, well, should we be listening to him? He's a diamond. Well, it's half diamond. Maybe we should half listen. They basically
and then
do.
Half of them go.
Half of them go. Yeah. So, and hey, I mean, there you go. Sometimes it do be like that. Can't win them all, we suppose. Yeah. Okay. So I don't think, I really don't think we can think of any. Even if we don't agree with it, I'm struggling to think of any big critique that's going to be levied against this episode that I haven't already mentioned. Or these episodes.
Not enough monster destruction.
What?
Monster make bigger boom, please.
Well, yeah, that goes along with like the desire for more action.
No Lapidot fusion.
Let Peridot do her thing, please, as the Book of Fusion shows.
I'm very on board. How about it was so obvious that he was going to become the worm, which is not a worm.
Oh God!
It was basically broadcasted from episode 1, which is like annoying. Not quite to the scale, but similar to the scale of like when no one would believe that like rose quartz was pink diamonds throughout the entire Steven Universe community, and then the moment that the actual reveal happens, there are people posting videos like, it was so obvious. Actually, no, the funniest thing was that there were some videos like they were like, it was so obvious, and other people posting videos they were like, it was so out of nowhere. Clearly, this wasn't thought of ahead of time.
Yeah, I know. You can't literally. Again, hindsight 2020. Monday morning quarterbacking. When we know what we know, we will have the fun power of being able to change our thoughts and act like we're above it, but we're not. Taylor bringing it back to the T-Grows bringing it back to in terms of things they didn't like. No explanation for what was in the chest ever.
You want to talk about that a third time?
Well, I brought it up again because I have a new headcanon of what they could have done. Because Rose does like leaving tapes, right? She's left tapes before.
So there's an outside tape and an inside tape.
No, yes. So I'm saying there's one more tape, and he takes it, puts it in the car. It's the song. It has another little message maybe in front of it of like, this was the first thing that I heard when I came to Earth, or maybe something like that. Would that have made us happier?
Maybe yes, maybe no. I think the biggest trouble with the chest, which relates to a different thing that we were talking about earlier, is then you would have to make it about Rose again.
Yeah, no, you would. You would. No, I was thinking
there was no place for that in the last 4 episodes.
Yeah. That
unless it was going to be just like an offhanded remark kind of thing. But if it's going to be something of value, which is the only thing that would make the fans happy, it would have to be its own big topic in an episode before these final 4. Before these final 6, I don't know. Like, because 7, 8, Together Forever and On are all linked. So probably before that.
The rest of the gang goes there when Steven corrupts, and they look in the chest and find an answer key of what to do if this exact problem ever arises. That's what it should have been. Because then yeah, there we go.
Did I make this joke with you that like they would find in there like there was like a worm extinguisher or something like that?
Yeah, I think we
just so happened to be the perfect thing needed to stop Worm Steven, in theory, being a worm, but
Rose had been having a real ant problem, is the thing. Yeah. They're like, wait, this could work. Yeah. We're coming for you, Steve. Yeah. No, we're good. I mean, we didn't get Taylor's broadening to be disappointed. No explanation or notion to the contents of the chest throughout any of the series, not just the finale. Yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, would I prefer there to be something? Yeah, sure. But like, do I care enough about the chest to be upset? Personally, no, but I get it. I get other people being upset.
Is that the Zuko's mom of this show? I know it's not referenced in the actual finale, but is that the Zuko's mom of this show? Are we going to get that in a follow-up comic? Even though there won't ever be comics?
That Rebecca claims will not be a canon comic continuation, perhaps.
Yes. But she said she's not done with these characters.
If a comic person is going to be like, oh, I need to come up with an idea that people are going to buy a comic for, yeah, they're going to try to put in their own what was in the chest, right?
Yeah.
But that's a weird one. I care a lot more about what happened to Zuko's mom because that is so integral to a main character,
right?
And their story.
Oh, I definitely agree. Yeah,
and the character is dying to know, so I'm dying to know. With the chest, like, yeah, I do agree that the weird thing about the chest is like there's a lot of not junk in Lion's Mane, but like a lot of like smaller things that are like, oh, that's sweet. But yeah, if you're gonna put something in a chest, that's gonna be a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the original tape was in the chest, and it was only allowed to be taken out of the chest once Steven reached an age in which he could understand it, and then Lion like twitched a little bit and unlocked the chest and the tape fell out.
Maybe in the chest is the canon comic continuation that we'll never get because it's locked away.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
Yeah. Rebecca locked it up. No way. And then she went into it and opened it and took it out to who knows where. Yeah.
The fun thing about the chest though is it will be something that allows the show to be brought up like going forward.
Yeah.
It is that untouched piece that like people could be like,
well,
what about this? And it keeps Steve Universe in the conversation.
It does.
So slightly longer.
The round table is going to make a video tomorrow and also a video next year that opens with, what's up guys? So what was in the chest? Let's figure it out. Yeah. It'll happen. It'll happen.
Ollie Doodles would love for you to state which Zircon won.
Our Zircon won, right?
Blue Zircon wins.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Next question. There is that game that takes place after Change Your Minds and before Future, but I doubt it has any relation to the chess.
Oh yeah, the third light.
Yeah, so that's Unleash the Light, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I played through that one.
Yeah.
Did I not finish any of the games? I think I got like 90% of the way through Save the Light and then watched a YouTube thing after that because I didn't have the game on me. I let someone borrow it.
You didn't finish Attack the Light?
I finished Attack and I finished Unleash. I didn't finish the middle one.
I gotcha.
And then I just looked up the ending. Unleash the Light, no, did not have anything chest related to my recollection.
God, left and right were denied.
Excellent.
Yeah. It is very much Taylor. It is very much some secrets remain unspoken. Rebecca literally, that's pretty much a paraphrase of exactly what Rebecca said at Comic-Con. We mentioned it before. But hasn't she also said like that maybe this is the end when it comes to like an animated continuation, but she still has more for these characters, which goes against which goes against the more recent. Who knows? I need to recheck that quote because I thought that's how the quote was worded. Yeah.
And maybe a book, like Taylor said.
Sure.
She said no comic.
Yes.
There doesn't seem to be anything specific for a show. Brian, you brought up a movie the other day. I think, but that's still animated. Yes. I don't know.
If there is an animated continuation, I feel like the next most likely thing, at least from a corporate perspective, would be to then do another movie because the movie was such a success. Cartoon Network loves pushing it. We almost got the Fathom event in theaters, which I think if we had that and it did really well, like it would have done, that would have really cemented like, oh man, the fans really, the demand is there. If you could do another movie.
I think you were the one I was talking to about this earlier, but my pitch for the movie, a second movie, would still be Steven and Spinel.
Yeah.
Time travel adventure.
Yes.
Find out the origin of gems.
Cool.
And somehow we find out that Spinel has something to do with it.
And ironically, after seeing how popular Spinel is, Cartoon Network would be all for pushing Spinel to come back again for the second movie, even after urging Rebecca to let her be killed in the original pitch.
Brian, don't read Taylor's comment. Don't read Taylor's comment. Don't read Taylor's comment.
Oh, okay. So in Taylor's comment, he said, what if they did it Fairly Odd Parents style and had Steven grow to be 20 and is played in live action, but the gems are animated in 3D, which is such a perfectly cursed comment. That's corrupted.
Curl in 3D does burn all my crops.
Yeah, it does. Look, hey, stage musical. They seem to hint at that a little bit with. It was a question that was asked, but they were a little cagey. Like it's something they would like to a stage musical of the movie. That would be really awesome. I don't know.
I can see it working.
Yeah, I definitely could. Look, the movie. Look, it's right there. Sarah Styles is already Broadway bound, and
I would love to see how other Friends' played out.
Hey, look, she performed it live at Comic-Con, and it was great. The energy was there. She didn't actually... She
wasn't holding a scythe, though, I noticed.
She wasn't holding a scythe, and her limbs didn't extend to impossibly long stretches. But, hey, I mean, look, SpongeBob Musical had some stretchy limbs going behind, like, a backdrop in, like, the most gloriously cheesy way possible, so maybe they could do something. You never know. We're in a visual effectsy time. But I think the question is, regardless of necessarily what the specific words that Rebecca had given, should there be any more continuation? And whether or not there should or shouldn't be, what would you say you would want to see next as like a logical or just something that you would like?
The biggest question, right, is you make a continuation. Is it Steven goes through the worlds, or is it the crystal gems continue on in Beach City?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I mean, look, if they...
Do you stick with your main character, or do you stick with the many, many, many amazing other characters you got?
Well, to go back to the Reddit AMA that came out like right before Change Your Mind, well, I think someone asked if we would ever go outside of Steven's perspective in the show, and then the answer was something along the lines of, well, then it wouldn't be Steven Universe anymore. It wouldn't be Steven's universe. So I feel like...
Right, so you gotta just rename it.
Well, if it is as simple as renaming it, then sure, but maybe like Rebecca and the crew are not interested in exploring the world not through that lens. I mean, Well, they could look. There's obviously
show?
there's plenty of merit in doing so. Yeah. But Taylor said an Adventure Time approach and some extension on a new channel. That actually, you know what? The HBO Max.
Test it out with Adventure Time first, and then go from there.
They will. The HBO Max 1 hour specials, which I feel like there's a good possibility Rebecca Sugar has a hand in the Marceline and Bubblegum one. Just because the last time she returned to Adventure Time was Stakes. I feel like there could be something there. Even if it's just a cameo as the mom again. So we'll see. Look, and then Infinity Train is supposed to be moving to Max. Is that the case? Am I wrong on that?
I think that was someone said that via leak content. I don't know. There's no. I don't think there's any official. I don't think we even have official confirmation that it's getting a third book.
Right. Well, yeah. No, we don't.
It
better. Look, Owen Dennis was then saying like then they'll keep on going for bigger and bigger swings the more that they're allowed to, because book 2 already was such one. But even if it is just the HBO Max like hosts and has like the old episodes, that's something, and that could see it growing in popularity and then maybe getting more. Yeah, look, I mean, more Steven. Yeah, I could see it happening. I think they will maybe put it to rest for a bitty bit, just the bit.
How long was Adventure Time off air until it got a continuation notice?
Not
that full year.
Yeah, probably a full year at least. I would think. Well, maybe it was announced before it would. It'll definitely at least have been. It ended 2019, right? It ended in 2019.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like early-ish yeah.
Yeah. And when are the HBO Max specials supposed to happen? Adventure Time, HBO Max. Do we know? Oh, maybe.
Or did it end late 2018? It was like right before Steven picked back up, and that's because they wouldn't overlap them. They want to focus their big shows.
Okay.
Right? They want to. So it might have been late 2018.
Well, the announcement for the HBO Max specials, I just checked, was on October 23rd, 2019. My parents' anniversary. Very good. But Adventure Time proper, actually, yes, it ended September 3rd, 2018. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Because, yeah, I was thinking, like, because there was a time where Steven season 5 wasn't done yet. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, okay, they're not going to do it here because, you know, Adventure Time is going to be ending and they need that big finale focus. I don't think Adventure Time got nearly as big a social media send-off as Steven did.
Well, that's because Steven kept growing.
Twitter has been feral today with content, and it's been pretty awesome.
Steven kept growing in popularity, and I think the movie also even really helped usher in new fan, helped it be like you thought we were past the peak, then that really got us to a peak of fandom. I think, yeah, for sure. And then even going beyond that, yeah, it had a lot of fanfare to the finale, but one could say that we've gotten our extra bonus stuff. You could say we just got it earlier. We got our movie and we got our mini series. You could look at it that way and then say, well, then we're done. I don't know.
We got an epilogue series. Maybe we also shouldn't take that for granted.
Yeah, we can't be greedy. We got a lot. We got closure times 3. That's what we got.
So here's one thing that like there was a recent article that made it seem like Future, they got renewed for Future like right around the same time. Not that they were in production at the same time, but right around the same time that the movie was.
Okay.
At least that's how I read it, and that's a lot at once. At a point where Rebecca thought that she wouldn't be getting additional episodes, there was a request for more episodes.
I just wonder at what point then she, like, if that changed anything about how she approached the movie. You think so? I mean, I probably didn't, honestly.
There are still, I think there were still a few episodes left to be made, but just a few. But okay, well, movie was probably gotten first before Future by a little bit. But like, what happened was, based on the same article that I'm thinking of from this week, I think it was this week.
Right.
It was saying something to the extent of once Rebecca found out that she'd be getting Future, then she was requesting like 6 additional episodes of the original show to focus in on current arcs, and was thinking about like, okay, here are the arcs that we were going to do in season 5, but that we could push now to future to give a bigger focus to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we're just going to focus in on this one particular plot, and to do this thing right, we need 6 more episodes.
I see. So she did get the 6 more episodes of season 5, and then she got future. Okay.
Which is in season 5 was longer than 2, 3, 4 individually.
True. Right.
By a little bit. That's why we were surprised, because like I think Familiar would have been the last.
Why is it so familiar?
I think our legs are familiar was gonna be the last, when we were thinking that was just like 26 episodes.
Can you imagine it just ended like that?
Yeah, it would be familiar, because then it's Together Alone and Escapism, and then the few Change Your Minds. Well, I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't have ended at Familiar, but like, you know, because it would have been done way differently, assumedly. I mean, I don't know how the season would be structured. Because do you get rid of the Ruby Sapphire separation week? I
guess, yeah.
Is this pre-wedding? I don't think it's pre-wedding. I think wedding was already in like something that she got by that point.
Sure. No, well that was a battle long waged. So yeah. That would have been there. She wouldn't have settled for anything less.
There's a discussion that we're never gonna figure out a final specific answer to. Oh, we got Dar here. Hey, what's up?
I just saw Dar. Hello.
Heckin', a lot of content. Yeah, enough time. Change your mind. Future Spinel better.
Yeah, wishing they allocated.
Your Mother and Mine is an interesting one. Glad you bring that up, Dar. Because I mean, at the time of watching it, as a rabid Rose Quartz's Pink Diamond to everyone, and I'm angry at you all for not just seeing it. When I watched Your Mother and Mine, my reaction to it was, he. I'm enjoying this purely from the perspective of Garnet really thinks this is the story. She's going to be in for a real whirlwind when she finds out the truth. And that's what a lot of that episode was for me. But granted, you're right in that we didn't need an episode for that. And stuff. But I did think it was a sweet episode. We were also able to focus in on Garnet and firstly get those reactions to the opera. Is adorable.
It's like having
get her conversation with Steven, where he's actually able to reflect on what's been going on for a quick moment, which really doesn't happen often. But again, all these elements could have been put into a different episode. That I agree with. But Brian?
Your Mother and Mine is the equivalent. The analogy I'm going to make is a library keeping an old book about how Pluto's one of the planets. It's at the time, yes, of course, this existed, but like to see it then in the grand scope and then be like, well, then what is this doing in the library? Still, get this out of here. You know, it was for the time. You know, for the time, I think. Season 5 is an interesting beast. That then you could see that. Look, the like Lars is in space for quite a while, and then we push that to the side. We do all our diamond stuff, and then at the end they're like, "Oh, okay, Lars also." Then and they make it like comedic. I think I feel like almost out of a little of a sense of awareness of yes, let's just tie up this loose end, and it's silly that it's happening at the same time the diamonds show up, but we're just gonna do it because otherwise we're not gonna get the touch on it. So I can see that. Yeah.
Season 6 arc.
Oh, the 6th episode arc is what Dark.
Oh, that's why I messed up. Just remove the whole thing. You mean after Wanted? I assume.
They mean
the Stephen, Connie, Lars Sadie, Peridot Lapis breakup arc.
Right.
That I agree is the weakest part of season 5.
But I like it, and I know it's controversial, but I like it. Look, this is the thing. I'm not saying it bad because there's only one episode in that whole span that I dislike, and I'm just not a Dewey Wynn fan. But otherwise, I like the individual episodes. But you go ahead. I like seeing Connie address, because such a big thing in the show is that she is working to help him, and it's going against like the big superhero tropes of, well, then it is my burden to then watch out for all of you, and it is a task that I must do alone, as early as like end of season 1, beginning of season 2, full disclosure. We're knocking that down. So to have Connie be like, well, then you did leave, and I was supposed to help you. And not only that, also I was like hurting and left in the dark in that moment. And like, yes, it was a heroic thing, but like I get Connie's perspective. A lot of people don't seem to really like hate her for that, or think that she's being over dramatic or such. But I never felt that it was out of character. That said, I do think that the stuff in future, in terms of like specifically the Together Forever episode, in terms of that as like a conflict arc,
that is high level Connie.
That is high level. Like, that's some of the best stuff in the franchise. Perfectly done, relatable, realistic, authentically portrayed. Gives a further like final statement on what fusion means in the show. That it's not like, all right, well, you could see it as then giving yourself into love and then letting your own perspective be dulled by being meshed with someone else's. No, the individual perspectives are valued, and there are things that each of them want and then can come together at the end of the day. And you can't take advice from those hopeless romantics.
Always a great line. Yeah, I mean, just to cover it, Dar's comment's interesting. You just get like, because there's no single episode in that arc that I think the show would be better without having it. Whether or not they did an amazing job in execution, because there's at least one that I'm iffy on. But like, regardless of that, there's no episode in that span where, in concept, I think we shouldn't have had that. Because I think the mayor stuff does a lot of good. I think having an episode where the gems try to help out Steven and get that reverse feel in there, which is like, it feels like Jim Cation's a bit of a future prototype, right?
Yeah.
I think that is a very valuable episode to have, and finding comfort in that breakup-y zone. I really wouldn't want to get rid of Raising the Barn and Back to the Kindergarten, because I think those are both great.
I think you get rid of Letters to Lars and replace it with Lars actually coming back earlier, so you could do more with it and have his parents actually see him again.
Are you whispering because you're reading, or is that?
No, I'm whispering because I'm being a jerk.
I run back. I'm pacing right now, so I run back to my computer. I was like, "Did someone type that?" And Brian said, "Anyway,
actually let Lars' parents like reconcile with it and like do more with it, like instead of having to rush it. I think take that as the place of Letters to Lars. Not saying it's a bad episode, just I feel like that would maybe make more sense.
I mean, from the enjoying the human half of Steven's life, like Letters to Lars feels like a great breath of fresh air. It's an effective episode that lets you catch up on everything that's going on, and it is the number one episode for like letting you feel the weight of things in Beach City have changed.
It's true.
And like without that, you could like notice it and be like, oh yeah, no, a few things have changed. But Lars is the episode that makes you feel like it's been worth it following all these like, and you feel the weight of. We have been through a lot, and there's a notable fulfilling feeling that comes along with that. But yeah, like I said, hiatus kills everything. Like just it makes you want that big dramatic reveal pronto. If it was weekly, I'm sure a lot of people would feel differently about it. And going forward, when people just marathon 4 seasons on Hulu,
right,
and have no idea what to do for the other 2 seasons in a movie.
Yeah. Other 2 seasons.
Sure it'll feel a lot better.
2 seasons in a movie. Oh, I see. I just got what you're saying. Yeah.
And like Dar said, I would much rather like see an alternate timeline where season 4 is reworked than season 5.
Agreed.
Granted, I wouldn't mind a little more time spent in Homeworld, just to like, I would have loved to like, instead of getting Familiar is good to have, but like in Familiar you have your quick catch up with Blue, your quick catch up with Yellow, and then your final bit. I would have been perfectly content with a full episode on Blue and a full episode on Yellow, and really diving into their mindsets so that when you get to change your minds, you could really effectively dismantle where their minds are at on things. I really don't think season 5 is a matter of they did the wrong things and they made the wrong picks for episodes. I just don't think there were enough. I think the show would have done well with another 3 episodes that were homeworld based.
We shouldn't dare talk about touching familiar when you have like Rocknaldo or Onion Gang right there. You know, like that's
hey, I just said season 4. Very, very happy to see that changed up a little bit.
Yeah. No, I agreed. Okay.
Because I do really love a lot of season 5. Season 4 is more of like, well, you still got a few of these. You got your Mindful Education, your Last One Out of Beach City, your Storm in the Room, Steven's Dream. That will be all. Like
Storm in the Room, yeah, it's really underrated.
But like season 5 is more of a matter of, well, I guess Dewey wins and Together Alone we're a little weaker. But like it's the reverse of season 4, at least in that like I'm picking at least favorites instead of picking at favorites.
Yeah. Those are all fair picks, Dar, of Onion Gang, Rocknaldo, The New Crystal Gems, Room for Ruby, Tiger Philanthropist, all to varying degrees, I think.
Especially Onion Gang.
Yeah. Yes. Especially
okay.
Onion Gang.
Tiger Philanthropist, I think, is right. You're correct in
most forgettable.
Potentially most forgettable episode. But I find myself enjoying it more while watching.
Yes.
Than Onion Gang.
Oh, definitely. And the meta commentary about like continuations and sequels and such is enjoyable. And it's cool. It's nice to have a follow-up episode to that. But yeah, I wish it's not as impactful as its predecessor in terms of what it does for the Amethyst arc. But again, I suppose that's the point. We're moving away from it.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that being the point.
I know.
But at least make it an entertaining.
Like, I agree.
There's ways to turn your points into ones that like are memorable, exciting, entertaining.
I agree.
And it's like Tiger Philanthropist is an episode about how things could start to feel unnecessary and mundane.
You're right.
And people don't know what they want, and a lot of weird in between feelings. And it's very artsy in concept, but they don't bring out the weirdness of that enough to feel the artsiness, and instead you just get the weird in between feelings where that's the episode's what the episode's about, and that's what you're gonna feel. You're gonna feel the weirdy in betweeniness of not knowing what you want in life.
Gotcha.
But not in a super exciting way.
Hi, Mama Fox. Yes, hello, Mama Fox. Circling back to finale vibes, is there anything that we wanted to? Now that it's taken some time to settle and register, are we feeling how are we feeling about the ending to our beloved Steven?
I'll say specifically in a sec, but like I right within the last like minute, I was thinking to myself like, oh, it's a little weird how, not weird, but fun how after we spent a while talking about the last 3 episodes, and like our uncertain thoughts, and there's some like space in the conversation where we're just trying to figure out even what to say. The moment someone brings up, well, let's talk season 4 and 5, we're like, oh well, all these thoughts, because it's just such a comfortable zone of being. I name off every episode. I know everything about this, but then you hit the future, you hit the unknown. It's like, oh no.
You're not giving yourself enough credit, Justin. But I do agree that we have those like solidified. There's merit in doing this fresh off of them to like preserve that moment in time when they were new to us.
No, and it's valuable, and that's what people are caring about.
That's right.
It's there's just so many things. I think even if it was just one episode, I would be able to pinpoint more to say, but it's over a half hour of new content, and it's like, there's not just one amazing part. Like, okay, we have a live stream in theory on Mr. Universe, and I'm like, Oh man, love that. Love listening to Greg sing Mr. Universe and really get in touch with what made him who he is. Wanting to share that with Steven, all the excitement there, and how Steven replied to that, and the conversation that follows was excellent. And Steven had very valid points of his own, and Greg and him were able to go back and forth really quickly with both really strong, compelling arguments that make me want to rewatch that scene over and over again. But then, like,
that your situation is different than mine, Steven, but also, like, I wish I had what you had, and this was right here, and but, like, I mean, we have.
Oh, you don't know what you want, Steven. You're a kid.
Right.
That's what Greg
we have
says.
the dialogue internalized for those, so that's easy to call upon.
Here it's like we could talk about the explosiveness of Everything's Fine, and I mean, it's been a while since I laughed so much at an episode.
Yeah.
And that was it was a very specific episode talking about the incredible power of denial. Because despite the absolute nonsense that Steven would go throughout that episode, I didn't doubt for a second that it made sense that Steven could believe that he was doing the right thing. And the one time where he didn't have an excuse for why things were going well, that was like the Anvil part, we actually did see him frown and feel confused and not know what to say. And like, and all the other times where you can even think of a vague excuse for why things are okay. You kept up that really creepy smile, and it was just a very authentic depiction of here's how wild denial could get and how easy it is to tap into. And I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think this could send us in a good direction. What Dar just wrote about they love the ending, but however feels once again a bit too easy. Like if the solution was a hug and I'm here for you, I feel like that conclusion came to before we got to the Godzilla. I'm sorry, that must be a reference to something that I'm ignorantly unaware of. But I know what you're talking about. All the Gems did for like 5 episodes was just
isn't that just Godzilla and God Steven?
Oh, God Steven. Oh, duh.
Yeah.
Godzilla
and Steven.
Oh, okay. Duh, I'm stupid. All the Gems did for like 5 episodes was just try to be there for Steven. They wanted him to open up. IDK, if this is the fault of the show, but I'm not getting the difference between their interactions. So I think this is a really good discussion topic. What is the difference?
I love this.
You love this? What is the difference between how they approached it here as opposed to how we had been seeing like each of the, like Greg coming at the end of the hospital episode or other moments in which like they were trying to show Steven that they were there for him, whether it be Connie or the Gems or any of them? What was the difference at the end as opposed to before?
I definitely think they were hearing him a lot better here. I think a lot of the issues, like you'll see at the end of, we'll bring it back to Mr. Universe again, where Greg will put himself out there and say, hey, even at the end, he was saying, hey, I know you're going through a lot right now, and we can have ice cream. It'll be all better.
Right.
But Steven very clearly depicted his issues as, hey, I need a stronger foundation in my life. And I felt like I didn't have that. And I need a level of parenting that you weren't giving me because you just let things go. And because of that, there were aspects to my growth that I completely missed out on.
Right.
And how does Greg respond to a car crash? Another one of the, it's okay.
Yeah,
everything will be fine.
Yeah,
and
that's not enough.
And that's happened with all of Steven's big parental figures, where he, come this point in the show, has completely pushed them out, and does not respect them enough to really speak to them because he feels like they aren't hearing him. And you hit this finale where I do get a sense that after everything, especially up until Connie, well, firstly, there's the beat up until Connie said, shut up already. Let's focus on Steven instead of you guys. Yeah. But everyone was very specifically noticing what they were doing wrong. And then once the hugs happened, it's not just a hug. It's hey, Steven, I did this wrong, but, I'm listening now. You're important to me. I am understanding you. I have been where you are, and I am empathizing with you. I'm not just vaguely listening and going to prattle off some whatever. It's, hey, I've hated myself before. I know what you're going through. Hey, I've kept secrets before. I know what you're going through. Hey, I fell apart before. I know what you're going through. I am here for you. I'm listening to you. I understand what you're going through because I'm paying attention. And now things are going to be okay. And they've never listened in the way that they had before that point, or at least expressed the fact that they're listening. Instead, it's, Steven, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Steven, what's wrong? When he has stated several times. And because they keep saying, what's wrong? I'm worrying about you. I'm not actually stating that I am understanding all these things you've been saying, but I'm saying that I've been worrying about you. Just seeing that is making Steven go, no, everything's fine.
I don't want you to worry.
He knows that the more he listens to that he has problems, the more people are just going to worry more.
Yeah.
And they've shown that it doesn't give good results. It just makes them worry more.
Exactly.
So
I don't want you to worry.
He's going to say everything's fine.
Yeah.
And it's just a constant cycle until someone breaks it with, I'm listening.
I don't want you to worry. I am worried already. Yeah. I think, Connie was close beforehand. Like, yes, there was definitely stuff of the what's wrong nature, which is inevitable and should be apologized for. But it was more of than like a logistical issue of like, oh no, the 15 minutes are up. But it doesn't matter. One of the best, I think this line delivery I pointed out to you before. I just love when Steven's like, no, it's okay. Do your studying. It's important to you. And she goes, you're important to me. And she says it with like such urgency and sincerity to it. She had like the energy was there. And that when she called Greg for him, even when he wasn't willing to do so himself, and he recognized that and he thanked her for it. The show had definitely planted the seeds of her being the one to really give like that final surge of human advice to empathize, and that's definitely represented in the big emotional climax. But yeah, you're right. It's not vague being there. It is really listening and engaging. And yeah, Peridot did get through to him as well, but
I was thinking about that as a counterpoint.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That is the most valid counterpoint that I've been able to think of.
Yeah. I mean, well, she did, but also that was through a solution of everyone I feel like is going away from me and changing, but in that case, it was less like, well, our thing isn't going to change. Our show changed, but we're still going to enjoy it. It's just we're going to be enjoying it in a different way. So that was still him clinging to a certain level of like staticness that wasn't like necessarily like directly compromised, because you have like the great arc in Bismuth Casual where it's like, oh, like Connie like does want to hang out with me still. We're not drifting apart. It ends in the Stevani, but then right after with Together Forever, you get, okay, well then Steven clings to that in like a toxic and unhealthy way. And then that's what makes that fall apart. That doesn't happen as much with the Peridot thing, but I don't think, it wasn't enough for him to resolve all of his issues. It was nice for coping and hanging out, and the hate watching a show together is a lovely thing. The show's the worst, the show is the best, but yeah.
No, I would buy that, unfortunately, as much as, Peridot is there for him and learns in that moment that he doesn't want to lose his connection with her just because they're not doing anything crazy big together, doesn't mean that Peridot completely understands that there is a huger issue going on. But I will say to that the most surprising thing about all this is that Steven didn't, through that, open up to Peridot more about the issues he was going through.
Right.
But Steven has a stubbornness to him. He
does.
really just does not want to open up about anything. And that's one of the biggest problems, that people need to come forward to him and bring it up themselves. And people shouldn't have to have that on them to do that. But if he's there for you all the time, the least you could do is make a push to help better him in return. Yeah, that's how a community system works.
And also part of the arc to that was him being excited to work on, with the redreaming and the dreaming, work on something that wasn't like with the stakes of saving the universe. So there is an arc to that of him having those goals to set his sights somewhere else. It's just they are going to a smaller scale, but where they really should be going ultimately is he should be looking inward towards himself, but he's not there yet. Yeah.
He's scared to. I mean, as early as episode 2. Someone saying, "Hey, let's talk about your future."
Yeah, guidance.
He's not saying that out loud, but he's thinking at least. That is the last thing I'm going to be able to confront right now. He's not one to look inward. Every single time he wants to figure out an issue, he's looking external. He's thinking Stevani. He's thinking the diamonds will solve this. Training with Jasper and training this ability, that's gonna solve it. He refuses to look inward, and I don't want to use the word forced, but like to an extent, he needs a push, a healthy, mature, friendly family push to do the soul searching that he needs to do, that he refuses to get the help on himself. So Dar, we have talked about the chest on 4 occasions.
Now we can't do chest again. I don't have any more headcanon ideas of what the chest could have been.
The Lapis Bismuth stuff. Can you clarify there whether or not you're referring to the fact that Bismuth likely poofed Bismuth likely poofed Lapis, which led her to be in the mirror, or if you're talking about Lapis and Bismuth individually needing more stuff?
When did it happen? I didn't see any of this. That's because it was private. Maybe it little graduation. That was just my little reference, because that could be
right.
Much like the large Sadie Sept stuff. Maybe that was just something that was dealt with off screen, and they so just casually threw that in there to not have to write about. No, but there's a point in that's using the perspective. I love that line. Limited. That's showing that the limited perspective has a point within the text as well. If you didn't notice it already. But yeah, Dark said both.
So Lapis and Bismuth as a duo, as two with a weird history, has always been a big talking point for me in conversations on Steven Universe.
Yeah,
because I so full-heartedly believed that they were really planning on digging into this concept that Bismuth led to Lapis's mirroring, and that it was going to be dug into. I thought I saw very specific pieces laid out, like them very specifically. Every single time Bismuth was in Lapis's presence, Bismuth would have the armor on, the cool armor that she has that covers up the little gem, and I felt so sure about the concept that Lapis, the moment that Bismuth would take off that armor in front of her, would be like, "Wait, Bismuth, with a chest gem, use poofed me."
Yeah.
I thought that was the most intentional thing ever, but it was either something that was like a dropped plot or sheer coincidence, and I need to know exactly what the mindset was there, because it's just easy drama to just jump into. I don't I like a lot, but like I guess there are more important things to get to. And what were you really? I don't know. The show is about relationships, right?
Yeah.
And that would have been the opening for a new character relationship. We know, and if we're talking about Peridot, Bismuth, Lapis, they're always together now. Peridot and Lapis have a very, very long history now within the show.
Yes.
And Peridot and Bismuth, they haven't had too much, but you get episodes like Reunited where Bismuth's like, oh, I like you, Peridot. You never give up. Like little things like that. I don't think we really got anything for Lapis Bismuth, and it would be nice just to get another character relationship in there. But it looks like Dar definitely. Do that instead of Bluebird. Dar says, I
definitely agree.
Would be totally down for. I mean, Brian, I know we already agree that Bluebird is like the episode that we we could have skipped out on this season,
and the show would have felt more like this season would have felt even more cohesive. I still think it's like the most cohesive season of the show and like a contender for best season of TV I've seen. But
the trouble with doing Bismuth Lapis in future is that then you have to deal with the fact that like they haven't dealt with this issue after like 2 years.
It's too late.
You need a reason that they're dealing with it now, and you got to pull a lot together for that to make sense. A lot of suspension of disbelief there. I would imagine would be necessary. What they would need to do is that they would have to set it up in season 5 a little tiny bit and then pay it off as its own episode in future. But we didn't have that build up.
Imagine if they just simply hadn't used the imagery of that like outline of Bismuth being the one like in the flashback, and then we wouldn't even have this issue. But because of that one choice that for all intents and purposes is
because it seems very intentional.
No, of course it seems intentional.
Because I mean, the only other thing I could think of with purpose is that they're like, ooh, let's foreshadow her, and just have her do a thing.
No, Justin,
but it carries big implications.
Yes, I completely agree with that. What I'm saying that more to speak to the notion that just by making a simple choice like that lasts for a few seconds of screen time can have such a big impact that we talk about it later as a wider ranging missed story opportunity that does come from a base of just a few seconds of screen time. But it still is like, you're right. That does become glaring in hindsight. The
one thing that we kind of skipped on from Dare's last post was talking why so blue feeling unfulfilling, and that's an interesting one because a lot of episodes in the show feel like they're very much meant to be epilogue bits where you get a sense that unlike Steven, this character has really come into their own, or is like close to being able to come into their own, and it's because of Steven and everything's great with them now. But Why So Blue might be one of the more straightforward ones with that, where it's, hey, Lapis has been through a lot, so let's see her in our new final stage of having grown and having learned lessons, and she's going to talk about how much she's learned. It's a little more straightforward than some of the other episodes.
Yes.
That would come to mind when it comes to showing off where the character landed. Like, Guidance, I think, is a great one for Amethyst, but, like, at no point in the episode is Amethyst like, the closest we get to that is
the end.
Her towards the end saying, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but now that I've done this schooling, that's great. But we didn't go back to the beginning of like, Steven, you really taught me a lot about loving myself and learning and going to the zoo taught me about like caring about where my place in the world, and I want to help other people find their place in the world.
But it's very natural, and it's the best part of that episode in Guidance when it does come up, and then it does lead into let's talk about your future. And well, look, Why So Blue also has the benefit of Steven and Lapis doing their little synchronized dances together when they go in and out of frame. I think that's great. We'll get. I do want to address this other thing that Dar said, which we touched on a little bit briefly before, but feel like I'm complaining a lot, says Dar. But was anyone else not particularly happy Steven and Connie got together? Even more specifically, that it was Connie's kiss that uncorrupted Steven. Like, it felt slightly ick to me. So I recognized that, and sort of I was addressing that before in terms of like the extreme end of that, which would have been, like Connie's like, I was wrong to reject your proposal. Like, that would have been terrible, right? This is like, you could see this as like the less overtly bad version of that, if you look at it from a certain perspective. For me, it was less about a romantic beginning in that moment with the kiss, and more because Steven's whole thing is like his powers that he's then healing with, like the licking or the indirect kiss, as it was so early established in season 1, right? For me, it was more about, and it's framed this way because of what Connie says, like, I know I don't have your powers, but, and she does that, and I think because of that line, to me, that moment is much more about realizing that this show, like, encapsulating it as a whole, is not about these spiritual superpowers that can then magically save the day and magically make you feel better, as Blue Diamond might say. No, it is the emotional power. It might sound cheesy, but that really is the show at its core. So Connie does have power in that. And finally, it's her in that moment of Steven always then having recognized everything that's beautiful and amazing, but to the outside world of humans as he would see it, much as Connie would always find everything about him amazing. Finally, that was a moment in which Connie offered something very human and very grounded and very personal that showed that then that was a power worth celebrating and holding up high. That's how I felt about that moment. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, Justin.
Love saves the day. That's I mean, that's always been the message of the show. Yeah. I like the moment as like a gender reverse Sleeping Beauty kind of moment.
That's true.
That's true. It feels very fairy tale. It feels like you're finishing off that moment with showing off a lot of love with a bang, so to speak. Like, you know, at least something that a variant of the hug. It's, I mean, they've always loved each other.
Yeah,
like It, to me, it felt natural. It felt relaxed. I get where Dar's coming from, but
sure,
it worked for me. I thought it was cute. I thought it was sweet.
Because I think if you look at it as if you look at it as this is the moment that it finally then coalesced for them, and like she realized that she loves him or whatever, then I see that a lot more. But yes, you make a very good point, Justin. They've always loved each other, and they're giving, you know, that's been apparent from, and this is just the newest showing of that. Yeah, the Sleeping Beauty comment is very well taken. Okay. Moving along from that, then, I know we've said that this a few times over the course of the many hours, but we have gotten to 3 hours. So if there is anything else that we want to then get at before signing off, and probably continuing to talk about it off stream, regardless, if there is anything else, and if there's plenty more, then there's plenty more.
I'm just like, now I could quit pretending to be a Steven Universe stan.
Oh, Michael. So Michael just entered the chat. We've been talking previously about because The Good Place season 2, we had both agreed was like having the title of best season of television, and Michael was telling me that depending on how if Future nails the ending, then it could take that title. And Michael comes in here and he says, "Sorry, The Good Place season 2." So, I mean, yeah.
I love Future. The toughest thing for me, I guess, as a cohesive unit, Future does possibly feel the strongest out of all the seasons. The trickiness just comes down to, for me, with like the majority of the episodes that I would consider top of the top tier are not from Future.
Right.
But that said, I love almost every Future episode.
Right.
And I can't say that about a few other seasons. Like, I mean, like, I, at the very least, enjoy every season. So it's not a wide range of feelings. It's like to adore, you know? It's
season 3 is my favorite of the original as well. Dar.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Dar said
but
that.
I would say the majority of my favorites come from 1B to 3.
It's a great finale. Yeah, Michael says
out of individual episodes, but even within those seasons, there's a few more hits that the season takes with just a few here and there. This season, like, you get like the Bluebird special episode week. You push that to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
Even when there are aspects to both those that I enjoy in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Just nudge that to the side a little bit, and every week has a ton of golden content.
Right. Like that first week, I mean, right out the gate with those 4 episodes. That was so because at that point we didn't know if we were going to get like 20 episodes, and we were thinking like, are we going to get just like 10? Because it's feeling like the way that they're going and like how they're really tying up, like even going back to like the zoo stuff, but like not just even making an episode all about the zoo. Like we also get the rose quartzes in it and everything. Like we're tying everything together, but it's also being holistic and like no time is being wasted. Like that, it really felt like that, like at the time, and I think that feeling did continue through the rest. You have to look at it as a holistic piece because we have our list where we rank the episodes, and like a bunch of season 3 episodes will be near the top, and other classic episodes. But also, like, think about like if you took the movie, and it's not meant to be compartmentalized this way, but if you split that up into 10-minute chunks, then like I mean, where would those show up on the ranking list? Or if you did that with like, I'll bring this up since it's another great movie based on a TV show. The original SpongeBob SquarePants movie. If you took that and sliced it into 10-minute chunks, where are you going to put that amongst the classic episodes? It suddenly becomes a harder conversation, I think, when you do that. But if you just look at the movies or future as well, also as holistic pieces, then for me, and maybe this is just what I gravitate towards, I love those like cumulatively like rise to the top in terms of just the content that I'll be revisiting over and over and just like loving and like poring over like each frame of it, just because I like the scale of it with the added benefit of like, because movies and TV, I love both of them, but like you got the added benefit of it having a basis in TV, so you really have a long-term investment in these characters and the world, but to bring it to a cinematic scale and have the stakes be so high and just like one big consistent large piece, like there's nothing better for me. I love that. So
right, I mean, the feature very specifically has a story to tell, as opposed to prior seasons, where you got a whole lot going on. Dar is speaking my language tonight, bringing up Joe Johnston.
Yeah, Dar really is.
Gosh, Joe Johnston, absolute Steven Universe all-star. Wish he boarded every episode.
I mean, he's boarded both openings.
Episode was boarded.
Yeah. Boarded both openings.
I mean, my here's my thing. My second favorite board artist on Steven Universe is Mickey Brewster.
Yeah.
Who did board 2 of the 3 new episodes tonight. Both of the last 2.
Boarded other friends also. Did you know she boarded other friends? I mean, I'm sure you did. Yeah. I was just listening to
she boarded like other friends, and I think she did the Spinel fight for True Kind of Love.
Yeah, probably did.
I think that's the other thing she did.
I mean, you also,
probably, most forests will do like sporadic, smaller things as well as their main scenes. God, I love her work as well.
Miki Brewster, fantastic. We got to mention Takafumi
Miki
Hori.
Miki did Kenko Back. Miki did The Question.
Oh yeah.
Did all the big fighty stuff in Reunited and
since we didn't
Change Your Minds, did all the Obsidian stuff and Change Your Minds.
Since we didn't read it out, I'll just quickly say Joe Johnston had boarded both openings, On the Run, Mr. Greg, that will be all the beginning and end of the Sardonyx arc, the pilot, Giant Woman, all the hits. You got to throw it to
Sworn to the Sword.
Sworn to the Sword.
Hit the Diamonds.
Yeah, Hit the Diamonds.
Heckin'. I know I'm missing some.
Showing they could do a big comedy episode too. Hit the Diamond, such a classic.
Did you say Jailbreak?
No, did we?
Jailbreak.
Jailbreak, yeah.
Space Race?
Yeah, Space Race. Oh man.
Could have been great.
You got to give a little shout out to Takafumi Hori for Mindful Education and the work on the movie. Yeah.
I mean, by that point, might as well give credit to a billion other. I'm just saying, like, we keep naming off great people.
Let's do it.
I mentioned Miki also, like. Jeff Liu is an all-star. Mm-hmm. So is I miss freaking Molosy and Paul Villico. They were a dream team. Rosa Scabbard, still my favorite episode, but like that is just that's an episode dripping with emotion.
Matt Burnett,
I don't expect to see anything that quite tops that.
Matt Burnett.
And I'll always hold by Not What He Seems grudge because it aired the same night, and that got the bigger, the more attention.
Matt Burnett often teaming with Ben Levin. I mean, so many classics.
Often teaming? I mean, like, they're always...
Yeah, you know what I mean. I just, I like, you know, you got your Lion 3, you got your Alone Together, you got The Test, you got Rose's Scabbard, Return, Jailbreak, Full Disclosure, all these great, and like, working on the last thing they worked on in the movie, like they in like the outlining stage. I mean, so many great. Ivy and Sarashu, let's like throw it to the music too. Like, I mean, every phase of the production. Like, we love all of these people. Gosh,
where are they now?
Who knows? Netflix? Some of them?
Was Joe on Amphibia? Where did Joe go next? I forget.
I think Joe might have done a little Amphibia stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we both forgot Lion 3 to mention.
I thought I mentioned it. Steven Sugar, isn't he doing Owl House stuff?
That sounds right.
I see him in the credits, I think, all the time. Yeah. For like, yeah. So that's really good.
Nichols. What's her full name? There's Nicole, right? She's a board revisionist on Steven. I'm blanking on her. Nicole Rodriguez.
Now,
I believe now a full board artist on Owl House season 2.
Cool.
She's very worth bringing up because if you look at her revisions, like, okay, I'll be honest in that, like, you know, everyone has their preference in border styles, and some I like a little bit more than others. And I'm just gonna throw out there that oftentimes when Nicole does a revision on a scene, or at least a segment, it looks pretty darn awesome. So, like, I give credit where credit's due. And revisionists will do that in general and be awesome, and I appreciate all of them.
The borders for A Single Pale Rose were requested, and that's isn't that oh gosh, I just had it in my head.
Single Pale Rose, that's
Hillary. Yeah, Danny Hillary, right? Yeah. Danny Craig and Hillary Florido.
Hillary's an all-star. Danny's an all-star. Yeah, they're all... Etwan was new. Maya and Etwan. How do we not mention Maya and Etwan? Because they did the majority of the best episodes. They're as a board duo. They did Volleyball, Snow Day, In Dreams,
classic,
Together Forever. I might be forgetting one more, and then after that, they separated for this last batch of episodes. Am I forgetting one? I feel like a real goof.
I know. We gotta
Bill Lamar in the comedy department, of course.
We gotta mention Jesse Zook. I don't know if we mentioned.
Well, that's a good times.
Well, I'm just saying. Well, Peridot stuff. I feel like that's very like fundamental.
Peridot and Lapis both.
In terms of shaping both of those characters, who are such essential characters. I mean, Log Date, and like Catch and Release, and the Barnmates. Really, Beta.
It was weird not seeing Jesse like just finishing up the Lapidot stuff. I pause because I'm Jess or Jesse. How do they go by? Jess.
I thought it was Jesse, but I could be wrong.
It's Jesse. Do you pronounce that Jesse?
Right? Wouldn't we? I mean,
that would make sense.
For Breaking Bad, that's what we do
tonight.
For Breaking Bad, it's Jesse like that, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it is.
Because I guess my thought process is if you had IE at the end, it wouldn't sound any different.
Right. Oh boy. I know. Well, that's true. Okay. Well, if there's any last, for realsies, is there any last? We've gone over 3 hours. Any last news?
What? No way.
Yeah. No way.
Did Joe do? I know Jeff did. A good bunch of business. Jeff did like the full last quarter, and maybe also a little bit at the beginning. I haven't seen Joe Bismuth boards to my recollection, but it has been a while since the episode's come out. I don't remember exactly who did Stiv's whatsies when it comes to non-credited boarding.
I got a very important question from Mom
Love
Fox.
important questions. Go ahead.
Brian, where did you get your Steven and Pizza Planet shirts? The Steven shirts, I wore the classic Steven for today. This was, Cartoon Network store. You could have found it at
Steven didn't give it to you before driving off?
I'm so glad I picked this one because I had a feeling that maybe there'd be a callback to the classic shirt, and there was. But yeah,
no justice for Blue Shirt, which is in fact the best Steven shirt.
Well, we're biased,
particularly when paired with the pink jacket.
Yes, we're biased because we love blue and it's our favorite color. But yes, you're right.
It looks so good.
It does look so good. It does look so good. But yeah, this you could probably have found it at Hot Topic. You probably still could, or just order it from the Cartoon Network website. You could get this or any of the other shirts.
Chill.
That was the question. And the Pizza Planet shirt came from Pizza Planet thing came from the Disney store, which I wore in my Toy Story 4 live stream. Probably can't find them in your size at Target or Walmart. Yeah, order it online, I would suggest. When you can, if you want, if it's feasible for yes. Okay.
We should have just mediated discussions, Brian. What happens?
Listen, what happened was, what took it down? Corruption. But audio corruption. The audio files got corrupted. But it was on... It was on the Love Letters episode, and we would have been really negative on it. So maybe it's good we didn't put that out into the world.
Thanks, Dar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dar. Yeah.
Lamar and Helen episodes, they were divisive.
throwing mail into the water because you fell in love with the relationship.
Play my quiz on Sporkle.
Yeah, might as well just be chill.
Alternate Steven Universe titles.
Chill.
I gotta add 3 or 4 more episodes to that to finish up the full Sporkle quiz.
Oh yeah, and then you're done. Then you're done, Justin.
Then I'm done with it. Never look back. Except I get self-conscious sometimes thinking, I could have done that better. And then we'll scan through the whole list and see, maybe what could I have done better?
No, Justin, that is going to be when you process the grief. It's like when a parent has their kid go off to college and they don't cry right away, but then they go home and they find an old sweater or something. And then that's going to be the moment for you. You're going to finish the Sporkle quiz and be like, Steven's over. And yeah, it's going to hit you. Just so you know, it's going to hit you.
Jeez, I'm crow. I'm not ready for that.
Yes.
I have so much Steven Universe content. I have books that I haven't read yet and comics I haven't read yet. I'll pretend it's still going for just a little while longer. I don't. Jeez, I'm crow. The weight is collapsing upon me. Here's a not losery, but silly thing that I got excited about yesterday, right?
Okay.
This guy, Cram, right? Mm-hmm. He's for the Steven University podcast listeners, he gets referenced a lot being a big part of their server, being the big fact guy, and I'm in my head, I'm well, you could come to me, but that's fine, whatever. He had a big list of who boarded what episode. So it's along the top you have a board artist. Or the x-axis is board artists, y-axis is episode titles, and then there's an X for every box of who boarded what episode. He found out that his file got all messy. So I volunteered to go through the whole list using just my memory of who boarded what episode and checking to see which things got messed up and which things didn't. And I was going through this list yesterday and going, wow, when for the whole rest of my life, after this moment, after I go through this list of episodes, will this very incredibly specific knowledge ever come in handy again?
You know what? I think for old time's sake, we should show off your prestige in this moment. And I should do the thing because Justin has an incredible talent where if you just give him a number,
rusty, but we'll try.
If you give him a number, he will tell you what episode of Steven Universe that we're talking about. And he could probably tell you a bunch more about it than just the name. But if I say, let's say episode 71, Or just the
It
number
depends whether you do count the shorts beforehand or not. Counting the shorts, 71 would be catch and release, but without the shorts, it's 71 would be when it rains. The 58 to 80 always messes me up a little bit because I forget whether to count the shorts, the first shorts collection or not. Because at first I didn't, but then the crew said that they counted as episode 58, and that threw that whole section off. But I can still tell you. And then, but if we're saying it's catch and release, that's a Jesse Hillary episode. I think that's a Soon Min episode. That became a little rustier on whether it's Soon Min or Rough Draft.
The animation studios, yeah. If anyone doesn't know. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. There you go. 38. 38. Do we know 38?
Oh no, yeah. That's easy. Oh. Yeah, that's the test. It's 36 and 37 that got swapped in airing for the 36 in TV airing was Warped Tour. 37 was Alone Together, but the crew says that they were meant to be the other way around. So if you look at like official lists, it'll be Alone Together first, then Warped Tour, which makes sense because 38 is the test, and the test has a hole in the roof at the beginning of the episode to reference Warped Tour, the little marble droid popping in at the start of the episode. 38's the test. That's Hillary and Katie. And that's a Rough Draft episode, definitely.
I swear that we didn't pre-plan this. I'm just giving him random numbers. It's to the point that I think Steven Universe episode titles are more fundamental to Justin than the numbers themselves. So I think it would probably be easier for him to do that.
I explained to you that, sometimes I'll be doing, in the rare instances, I'm doing bingo. Instead of, I find it bothersome having to, look down and check to see if I have a number. So instead I'll remember, okay, well, I have 8, that's Serious Steven, and I have 40, that's On the Run. Those are way easier to remember than actual numbers, because you 40 and 41, you can get those mixed up easily. But are you going to get mixed up with On the Run and Horror Club? No. Never. Yeah. Those completely different episodes.
That's true. All right. Well, we'll do one more for posterity. 91.
91. That's hacking. That's Restaurant Wars, right? Yes. I did goof for as in pausing. Because
That's 90. That's 90.
No. You're not. That if you're looking at Wikipedia, you're not looking at a list that includes Shorts Collection 1 as episode 58.
Okay.
So the crew would say that I am correct. Wikipedia might say otherwise.
I knew, I had a feeling. I thought so, but I was just pointing it out. I just wanted to get Kiki's Pizza Delivery Service mentioned because it's
sorry. Yeah, I would call that episode 92.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Justin used Steven Universe as a language. I
goofed up because I forgot the name Restaurant Wars real briefly, which because my first instinct was to say beach something, but that's episode 90, Beach City Drifts.
Justin's like those people who learned a language from reading a newspaper, except it's Steven Universe episode titles.
When is this ever going to come in handy again? It's
right now.
A disappointing thing.
Right now.
As a party trick.
As a party trick.
I want to be valuable. I want Steven Universe to continue, and me to be in the writer's room so that they could come to me for Steven knowledge, and I just know. But honestly, I've heard Rebecca in interviews, and it seems like she's pretty good at doing the same thing. Yeah, I'm sure she is. For show, yeah. Which order of the episodes in the 30s a little bit.
Right. No, true. You would be their eyes would light up. You'd be a very valued member of the team, without a doubt. For sure. But yeah, I mean, look, even if you can't use it for that, you just said yourself, if you're playing bingo, or even if you ever have a need where you got to remember a number, you got the numbers. You have a way to remember them.
I'll throw it out there. So, I'm parking at Six Flags, and it gives me a number for the parking lot selection. I'm like, oh, that's 52. Perfect. Jailbreak. Good.
There you go. Sure. There you go. Yeah.
Unless you can't say uncle in season 1, which I would never do. I would never ever do that. But then that would make Jailbreak 53.
Excellent.
I would be so embarrassed if I was one of those people who said that Say Uncle belongs in any sense in season 1, where the official chart says that it should be.
No.
For a wide variety of reasons, Brian. I'm glad you asked. Firstly, it totally breaks up the Greg arc. You need to have Shirt Club, Shirt Club, Story for Steven, and the message back to back to back, so you get that full. This is the tale of Greg experience. Throw Say Uncle in the middle of that, you'll lose it. Disgusting.
But what about Jailbreak and... Okay, never mind.
Plus, wouldn't it be so much more valuable to have Steven wanting to perfect his shield's ability after Jailbreak? Firstly, it's far more on his mind, and if you put it before Jailbreak, then you're thinking in the really it's the return, but you're thinking in the middle of the return, oh man, Steven got that shield out, not because he's thinking about his family, but because Grandpa really taught him a lesson. Nonsense.
The thing, you're gonna go to the wrong parking space and you're gonna be like, no, I'm sorry, it's because of Uncle Grandpa. It's because of Uncle.
Cheese and crow.
Yeah. Oh.
Do we bore the viewers enough by this point?
I think that did it. I think that did it.
That's the ending.
That's the final statement.
The Steven Universe finale happens, and we end our live stream on a Say Uncle break.
Hey, that's where we first publicly discussed the show. That was our first media discussion.
It's full circle for us. If they can go full circle with Cookie Cat, we can go full circle with Say Uncle.
Yeah, this full circle means nothing to anyone else other than us, but there you go.
Maybe Michael and Ben?
Well, Adam was on, so not that episode.
Adam was on
Shirt Club and Story for Steven.
Right.
Yeah. The other two we did. But yeah.
That got published.
Yes, that got published and finished.
Would he have been on Love Letters?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
But it was mostly us just
That was a weird time to start a podcast. There's like the weird in-between period where they're still airing season 1 episodes after season 2 when
it was just another way to overload myself.
Very bizarre timing. Oh, plus, some people are like, oh, well, you gotta have Say Uncle in season 1 because Garnet has her season 1 outfits.
Yeah, but non-canon.
The whole point is that it's silly non-canon.
Right.
So wouldn't you want an inconsistency like that to really hammer home the weirdness of the fourth wall and non-continuity?
True.
You think with your head, guys.
True that.
To all the people who have done it wrong.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think what we've learned from this beautiful franchise is not an exciting way to keep track of numbers, but also a way to not just learn to see through to others and empathize with others, but to have a willingness to, yes, if you put them on such a pedestal that then you wish to help them, that you are also worthy of being loved. It goes back to the love like you ethos of then why am I then seen as special in your eyes if you're so good? I'm nothing like you. No, but you are. You're worthy of being loved.
I would have been cool to sing that at some point.
That'd be pretty cool.
I feel like inner Steven within the monster could be singing that.
Yeah. But it goes out to, I mean, like everyone of just anyone. This is a message anyone can relate to, and it brings us all together. And in a time of crisis and feeling that then we're separated, to then get that sense of togetherness, but not through some forced feeling of fulfillment, but a very natural, earned, authentic bond for life. Not physical, again, as Dr. Maheshwar might say, but mentally, emotionally, because that's really the core right there.
It is quite a beautiful thing that is somewhat related. That can you imagine? Can you see Steven? Can you have seen everyone taking Steven's issues the same way, like in this episode, and like finding that same solution if Steven himself didn't change them. Like, that's you watch it going back and forth between, say, the episode Together Breakfast, where everyone is so incredibly dismissive of these emotional needs, or any other episode where Peridot, Lapis, Bismuth are, like you can't go to any of their introductory episodes and jump to this, and they're all in. Love is a cycle. You teach it, and then the next person teaches it to another, and if we could all find a way to pass it on, we're all the better for it. And it gets more complicated with that. Say you get political, like people take sides, people just disagree, but it's a matter of finding a respect in our differences, and that's another big theme of the show.
They literally, as you said, the friends that Steven changed because they were able to help him because of what they learned from him previously. They literally were the Steven that they wanted to see in the world. Because they wanted to see Steven back. So I suggest we all be the Steven that we want to see in the world, I think.
And with that, I think we'll be closing up.
I think that does it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be sure to continue remembering this wonderful franchise that it's meant so much to us. And we love you all. And we'll always be your family. Bye-bye.